Okay, everyone, if please take a seat, and we're going to get started. Good evening, everyone. This is CB2's December full board meeting. I'm Susan Kent, Chair of the Board, and thank you. Thank you. We are going to start with a roll call for attendance. Oh, you need a microphone.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful. One second, folks. I'm just going to position my mic again.
Yes, it's working.
Okay. Feels a little fragile. All right, folks, we will begin. Thanks for your patience. Susanna Aaron. William Benesh is absent with notification. Keen Berger. Thank you. Carter Booth. Thank you. Katie Bordenaro. Perfect. Anita Brandt. Thank you, Mark. Amy Brenna. Rich Cacapolo. Ritu Chatri.
Oh, no, she's
I don't-
absent.
I think she'll be joining
Or
Zoom.
she's absent.
I'll
but
check later.
she-
Great. We'll come back. Valerie De La Rosa. Andres Diaz. Chris Dignas. No, thank you. Chris Dignas. Arturo Fernandez is absent with notification. Mara Fitzgerald. Thank you. Stella Fitzgerald.
Hi.
Perfect. Cormac Flynn. Susan Gammy. David Gruber is absent with notification. Juliet Kay. Zachary Kazaz. Susan Kent.
Here.
Ryder Kessler. Janine Kiley. Ivy Kwan Ars.
Here.
Thank you. Perfect. Patricia Laria. Michael Levine is absent. Janet Liff. Benjamin Lissman. Ed Ma.
Here.
Matthew Metzger. Erica Olson. Brian Pape. Donna Raftery. Lois Rakoff. Bo Riccobono. Thank you. Lucia Sands. Shirley Secunda.
Here.
Thanks, Shirley. Eddie Siegel. Frederica Siegel.
Here.
Thank you. Emma Smith, here. Thanks. Got you, Chris. Dr. Shirley Smith. Chenault Spence. Online. Thank you. Susan Wittenberg. Thank you. Anthony Wong. Eugene Yu. Great. And I got Chris. Thank you.
And you confirm that we have a quorum?
We do have a quorum.
Thank you very much.
It's really loud.
Thank you, everyone,
Yeah.
for showing up. We will now turn to public session, which will be run by First Vice Chair Valerie De La Rosa.
I don't know what that, thanks. All right. All right, thank you so much. This is the public session, so if you have signed up to speak either on paper or through our online form, I will go through the list. You will have 2 minutes to speak. I'm going to start with people in the room, and then I will go to people on Zoom. So in the room, we have.
Can we turn up the sound or no?
I'm projecting as much as I can. I'm not sure how much louder I can get for people in the room because I'm probably very loud in the
I
room.
don't think it was you. I think it was from the get-go.
Okay. In the room, Elizabeth Tizzo. Please, so I'm just gonna start calling on names. If you'll just come up to the front. you'll need to come up to the front and speak in front of a microphone that's over here. So Elizabeth Tizo, and then one's on Zoom. All right, so we'll start out with those and then. Oops.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
It's slipping down a bit. I can hold it. Can it? Okay, I'm here to speak against the 60-story new development that is being sort of obscene tower that is being proposed for our neighborhood. I found it completely out of scale. I find also the whole process that is being used by the EDC and the city and the Whitney that is excluding the voices of the neighborhood. Some of us have been here for over 30 years. Not favorable to us, and I find it egregious that they're pushing this thing through the way they are. They're not here tonight, of course. But I do think primarily that I think the whole prospect of this tower without more schools, without more amenities for the neighborhood, and put that many new tenants in an already very crowded area where tourism, also with the Whitney expanding, is often privileged over the neighborhood with sort of overrunning of the meatpacking district. I live on Horatio, near that area, so I'm impacted every weekend by just the hordes of people that come and then sometimes just stay behind and throw up. Not that I'm saying that the new tenants would throw up on my, stairs to my house, but it is problematic and it is not something that is, making my quality of life better. But I also, as I said again, I think it's again a system where the corporations and the government are not asking the people and giving them any input on a publicly owned piece of property, a city land property. And I think on top of that, I have my doubts about how much of it is really going to be affordable. The neighborhoods, they always say this, the Hudson Yards, they said.
You got 25 seconds left.
Okay, I just want to end by, I think it's a horrible process. I think it's a horrible tower that they want to ram down our throats, and I think it should be blocked. Put all the Whitney there or park, I don't care.
Thanks. Next, we have Malia Mendez, and then we have Asher Lazday. And then Susan Midler.
Oh, good now. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Malik Mendez.
Thank you.
I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Malik Mendez. I represent Northwell Health, Lennox Health Greenwich Village. So that big white building on 7th. So I just really wanted to come a little bit closer. Okay. Come introduce myself. I've been with the hospital now for a few weeks to a few months. I'm pretty new. I represent community relations. I've had the pleasure of working with a few, Mark already and Brian. So I just really wanted to just kind of say hello. And also kind of talk a little bit about, our expansion project within the corridors of our hospital. We're expanding our services, adding a new cath lab, adding a new inpatient lab, which would then help the community in providing more services to the community. So with that being said, I kind of keep it short. I do have little flyers here, which I want to invite each and every one of you to what we're calling the State of Lennox Health Greenwich Village. This is where our executive, Tracy Firetag, is going to be talking about, the state of the hospital, where it started from St. Vincent's, talking a little bit about Beth Israel, talking about the current state and what the future state and what that looks like for the community. So this is going to be on January 30th from 6 to 8. Everybody is invited. In addition to that, you'll get an exclusive tour inside the new cath lab, inside our new EP lab, inside our new inpatient facility. So.
Great. We have a question from Susanna Aaron.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. 100%.
Katie, do you have a question? That's very true. That is very true. I can't think of it all, but yes, if someone could maybe, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you so much. And Malik, thank you. Thank you so much. All right, so next we have Asher Lazday, Susan Midler. Are any of those people here? If not, I'm gonna go online. I will also at the end ask if there's someone that I did not call on that did sign up. I will call at that time. Okay, so next we have Darlene Lutz, then Zach Weinstein, and then Andrew Berman. I have not signed into Zoom yet, so I'm not really, okay. Mhm.
Good evening, everyone. Darlene Lutz here. I am connected. Thank you for the time. Happy and merry to all. I will try and be brief. I am Darlene Lutz, a 50-year resident of CB2. God, that came up fast. I'm speaking tonight to give out my Naughty and Nice Awards to CB2, the first annual. That was a joke. Um, I really want to thank the insane and tireless work of two committees that I've been engaged with and watching all year long. That is the outdoor dining with Valerie De La Rosa and the entire committee, and also Donna Raftery and the SLA 1 and 2 committees. These are probably, the two most important right now because we are trying to get our footing back in our community, of our hospitality industry, and everybody, having a love fest and, all working together for quality of life and good business and bringing our tourism. So I really want to thank all that work and am happy to see it continue. Another person that I'd like to thank is Will Banesh of Street Permits. Soho is an international brand. So as everybody has noticed, we are getting a tsunami every month of pop-ups that want to come into our neighborhood and promote their product, all well and good. Let's work with SAPO. This was the topic last night at the first precinct Sector D meeting for Soho with the police, because they're as confused as we are about who gets what, when, how, and it all works. So I'm looking forward, and they are, to Community Board 2's sit down with SAPO, with the mayor's office in February. They have been apprised, and I know my time is up, correct? So all the rest, thank you for your work, and see you next year.
Okay, I don't have anyone else in the room, so. I don't know. Did we mute? Oh. Can we call on somebody else on Zoom, or I'm not certain what move is here. Okay, Zach Weinstein.
Hi, can you hear me? Hello? Can you? Yes, okay, I see a thumbs up. I'm going to assume that you can hear me. Yeah, I'm just would like to speak on the Gansevoort Square proposal. It was
Zach,
a,
if you can stop, I can't see, 'cause I'm trying to sign on.
I'm sorry?
Zoom.
Hello, hello. should I continue? Somebody give me a visual sign if I should continue or stop. I can't hear anything from
Stella,
the
can you
room.
speak?
She needs a moment.
Or maybe like
Okay,
someone
thank you.
on Zoom could Test for us. Stella, can you try speaking in the microphone so we can just test audio? I'll ask you to say something.
Did you say Stella? Me? Can you hear me? Valerie, can you hear me?
Can you hear
Can
me?
you hear me?
I guess I can't.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that was Stella. We can hear her.
Oh, can you hear me now? Nothing?
Sure. But Stella was.
Hello?
Stella says she can hear us. That's the only person I'm texting with that's on Zoom.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, Stella, I can hear you.
You can't hear me?
I can. That's Stella, yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear
Can you
us,
try it
Stella?
again?
Hello? I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we
No,
can't
we
hear
can't,
you.
Stella. Thanks, Stella.
I'm gonna take my headphones off. Maybe that will help.
I'm on Zoom now. Thank you.
Can you hear us on
We're
Zoom?
on The Zoomers can hear each other. The audio from the room is very low.
Can you hear me? This is Ivy. I guess not.
Hey there, I can hear the people online, but I can't hear people in the room very well.
What? Oh. Stella, can you speak?
Hi, can you hear me?
It's very
Yeah.
faint, but I've also heard it's very faint for them to hear us. Okay, great.
We've heard
Thank you.
Zach too, online.
Hi, Shirley. Shirley. Okay, so let me just pull that back up again. So Zach Weinstein, can you take two?
Hi, can you hear me now?
Okay.
Great. Yes, hi. My name is Zach Weinstein. I'm with Save Gansevoort. I live at 92 Horatio Street. I'm make a brief comment in reference to the Save Gansevoort proposal that was presented at the Land Use Committee last week. That committee hearing was a real eye-opener certainly for myself, and I think for pretty much everyone else here. It was the first time that any of us learned the details of this incredibly important proposal. And I urge the CB2 to do everything it can to ask that the city delay issuing a request for proposals on this project until there has been time for adequate community input and time for that input to be incorporated into the proposal. It's really outrageous that the city is trying to jam an RFP through in less than a month after the first public notification. And there are huge problems with this plan. The current plan calls to build a super tall tower containing as much as 75% luxury market rate apartments, and that is unacceptable on the city-owned lot. And the site plan, which forces all of that housing into a super tall tower in one corner of the lot, is also not acceptable. The city apparently negotiated the site plan with the Whitney and the Friends of the High Line, but there was no community involvement. This plan may meet the needs of those two institutions, but it does not meet the needs of the community. We've got a freight train coming down the tracks. It's a problem, and there needs to be an opportunity for community input, community oversight, and we can end up with a decent plan here. This is an amazing opportunity, but what the city's proposing to do right now is not it. Thank you.
The next person to speak is Andrew Berman. And then Lionel Stevens, Sam Moskowitz, and then Howard Charles.
Can you hear me?
So
Great.
maybe we go to Howard.
I'm Andrew Berman speaking on
Wait,
behalf.
I don't hear Andrew. Does anyone hear him? I don't hear him. Oh, he was. Yeah. Okay, is Howard Charles in the room? Maybe we go to him? Okay. He did. Yes, but there's silence. Is, is it working? I mean, I'm happy to call on him to continue going. Andrew?
Can you hear me now?
Andrew Berman, Andrew, if you could,
you-
Andrew Berman, Lionel Stevens, Sam Moskowitz, and then in the room, Howard Charles Euro. That's the order.
Can you hear
Howard
me?
Charles is here. We can certainly hear from him now.
Can you hear me?
I don't hear Andrew. Does anyone else hear Andrew? Okay. Is Howard Charles in the room? Okay, I guess not. Andrew Berman, Lionel Stevens, and Sam Moskowitz. Mm-hmm. Is there anyone I didn't call on in the room that's not with an elected official's office that would like to speak for 2 minutes? Just thought I'd ask if I. You're welcome. Anytime. Yeah, we could talk about the Fed rate cuts and my opinion on what's going to happen next year. Just kidding. That's my podcast. Okay. Shameless plug. These are not forward-looking statements. You could, I guess, you could go to electeds in the room.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just trying to think of like how we want to play this.
I think at this point, because it seems that there's continuing problems, we will go back to public session. I think.
Can people hear us on Zoom?
Oh, can the people on Zoom hear me? Andrew, can someone on Zoom hear me? Because what we're going to do is hear reports from our electeds who are in the room right now, to keep it going. And they can hear us just fine. Thank you. I see thumbs up. Okay. Which of our reps would like to go first? Any folks? Who's up here? Come on down.
Sorry, I don't know how to fix it.
Everyone is very special tonight, yes. And everyone gets equal treatment.
Appreciate your. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay, hi, everybody. I'm Connor, from Councilmember Marte's office. Here with an update, last update of the year, very exciting. Okay, so, just a few things. One, as I mentioned before, Councilmember Marte has introduced Intro 1096, which will protect healthcare of city retirees, ensuring that they receive traditional Medicare they've been receiving for 50 years, and prohibiting the mayor's plan to force retirees onto Medicare Advantage. We're continuing to build support for the bill, and this month, Councilmember Marte published an op-ed in New York highlighting why Medicare Advantage is so dangerous and why retirees deserve true public health care. We also wrote a letter to the council signed by 26 state elected officials calling for the passing of Intro 1096 and to stand up for 250,000 retirees at risk of losing their health care. They also recently won, as you might have seen, they're in court on Tuesday for the 11th time, but the mayor responded saying he will continue to push for Medicare Advantage, which is why this bill is so important, because it would enshrine that right in law. Also, as you may have seen on the legal front, the community lawsuit against the city and the imposition of a conversion fee for artist housing as part of the Soho NoHo rezoning was successful at the state appellate court. There was a unanimous decision found that the policy inflicted an unconstitutional taking of property without just compensation and ordered the removal of the fee. The council member has been a proponent against this program since its inception, and so is very excited that the legal action was successful, and congrats all the community members who are part of that. And we'll continue to work in terms of just logistically, like how that's all going to unfold moving forward. And then finally, my final City of Yes update. So it passed the council, 31 in favor and 20 opposed. Councilmember Marte voted against the proposal. Councilmember Marte, as you know, was very engaged in this process, advocated for a ton of changes and commitments that would utilize every tool we have to make sure that new housing that is built is actually affordable. Ultimately, virtually none of our concerns were addressed, and the risk of further speculation as part of this plan was far too high. The plan remained a giveaway to developers, a deregulatory approach championed by the real estate industry, and without proper protections and affordability mandates in place, would have only exacerbated the crisis. The council member voted no, not to do nothing, but because City of Yes is a step backward. It's bad planning, and we deserve so much better. And the council member is committed to continuing that fight moving forward. I have a list of some of the asks that we advocated for over the last several months that were ignored, and so happy to. I'll leave that alone for now. But yeah, that's it. Any questions?
Thank you, Connor. Any questions from Connor? That's it.
Okay, thank you. Happy holidays. Happy New Year.
Okay, Sharif, you're next.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sharif Gopti. I'm the Community Affairs Liaison for Community Board 2 for State Senator Brian Kavanaugh. So just starting off, happy holidays. And then just want to inform everyone that our office is going to be closed the day of Christmas and Hanukkah on the 25th, and then also on December 26th and 27th. Some legislative updates. Senate Bill S563 was signed into law. That went into law, signed by the governor on November 22nd. That's impacting rent increases for rent-controlled apartments. Prior to the Housing Stability and Tenant Protection Act of 2019, rents could be raised by up to 7.5% until reaching the maximum base rent. And then that 2019 change lowered this and changed it so that the lesser the average of the last 5 years of rent guideline boards, 1 year increases or 7.5%. And then this basically, what this new act does is repeals the requirement for New York City to hold maximum base rent hearings. So it streamlines the process, removes unnecessary administrative burdens when these increases are considered. And then, yeah, I'll leave it at that for that law. And then another bill was signed into law by the governor. It's S9283. And that is regarding congenital heart defects. It mandates that hospitals and birth centers provide information on congenital heart defects to maternity patients and their families. And so aims to empower families by educating them about the types of congenital heart defects, signs and symptoms to watch for, and available treatment options. And then I'll wrap up with the Historic Business Preservation Registry. So Senator Kavanaugh nominated 6 businesses in the district, in the 27th district, for the 2024 Historic Business Preservation Registry. The 6 that we nominated are Francis Tavern, the Ear Inn, C.O. Bigelow, Moscot Eyewear, John's of Bleecker Street, and B&H Dairy. And then 2 of the nominees were selected. So congratulations to C.O. Bigelow and John's of Bleecker Street, both in CB2. And that's all my updates. I'm happy to take any questions. Yeah, Rosia.
I mean, yeah, I guess so. We have no choice. Thank. Oops. Wait a minute, hold on. Yeah, please. First of all, I know that we do have a microphone for you. Please wait to be called on because I didn't actually ask. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Does the senator realize that capping rent control rents when the rents could be $300 or $400 for a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment is a negative thing? Negative consequences will happen not only to tenants, but to property owners. Does he realize that?
So the question is, does he realize that it'll do that? I think he would probably disagree about that opinion. It would be my statement, but I am happy to follow up with you if you have like more clarifying questions about it. I'm happy to follow up with you about it if you want to talk afterwards.
I'm just making a statement out loud so everyone realizes
Okay.
that misguided laws.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Any other questions for Sharif? Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. No. Oh, Cormac.
Yeah, I just want to clarify.
It's on, I think.
Hello, okay. I just want to clarify because I'm confused. Maybe I wasn't listening carefully. Senators, the proposal of legislation, I thought it was about the rent guidelines board, so it's about rent stabilized, not rent controlled. Is that right?
So yeah, sorry, it's rent controlled. It's not rent
Oh, rent
stabilized.
control. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other? Oh, go ahead, Lois.
So what does Bigelow and is it John's Pizza on Bleecker Street?
It's John's of Bleecker Street.
Okay, what do they get except for designation?
I think the designation's the main part. I didn't take lead on this effort to get the historic registry, those nominations done. I can follow up. I was there at the CO Bigelow presentation where we went there. The senator was there. We presented them with the award and the certificate. But I don't know the details on the state program. But I can follow up with you to see. Yeah.
I would be curious to
Yep.
know. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyone else? Oh, Dr. Smith.
I just have a question. Did Kavanaugh himself decide, or was there a group of people who made this decision? How was the decision made on what businesses were selected?
Yeah, I think it was an internal discussion in our office of, let's think about some businesses that we know about in the district, reaching out to businesses. We reached out to more businesses than were nominated. So we, reached out to different business owners to see if they were interested. Some people didn't get back to us, some people did. And then it was decided through an internal process about that. But, if you have a business that you think we should nominate next year, we can totally talk and, we can see if we can nominate them.
Thank you.
Any more questions? That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Rob? Nicole, I'm sorry.
Hey, everybody. I'm so happy for John's and Bigelow's, but I would have voted for the ear in. Happy holidays. So wonderful to see everyone. I'm going to try and make this pretty quick. We had a pretty extraordinary thing happen on 14th Street today. The MTA had a press conference to announce the completion of the 14th Street Station Complex. Hooray. I live on 15th Street, so I'm very happy. In any case, the council member was there. The MTA has completed the 14th Street mega project to bring full accessibility to the 14th Street 6th Avenue and the 14th Street 7th Avenue station. The complex features 9 new elevators, 6 elevators for access to the L, F, and M, 3 elevators at 7th Avenue for the 1, 2, and the 3. We are really thrilled about this. In addition to the new elevators, the crew made important improvements to enhance passenger circulation throughout the station, include 25 new staircases, 39 renovated staircases, as well as 5 platform upgrades, which included new tactile warning strips and ADA boarding area. Approximately 29,000 customers use the 14th Street complex on any given weekday. And if no one has been to 7th Avenue and 14th Street and gone over underground, it's my main station. The mosaic artwork that was installed is gorgeous and it really improved it. So everyone get excited about the MTA today. I wanted to say thank you for everyone who participated in our toy drive. I think it was the largest one we ever had. All of the gifts were brought over to Holy Apostles and they have been given out this week. The kids were thrilled, as was Holy Apostles, and we always have the best time loading them up as high as we can and taking pictures in our office. Thank you also to everyone who joined us for caroling this week. It was a great event, and we appreciated everyone who came out in the pouring rain, even though we ended up inside, which was very good. I just wanted to mention our mailer newsletter is outside if anybody is interested, and our end of year newsletter will be arriving probably in the next couple days. And I just wanted to thank CB2 for always being so amazing every time I need information on anything. You guys are a wealth of information. I'm so grateful to have you, and especially where did Mark Diller go? I want to just
Get more
say,
equipment. for
of
us.
course he did, but I just wanted to say thank you, thank you. I've had such a good year working with everybody, and that's what I'm saying.
Thank
Happy holidays.
you. Any questions for Nicole? Okay. Roy.
Hi, this is Roy Ruiz with Assemblymember Deborah Glick's office. We just wanted to mention 2 items in our report. Our reports will be outside. First, that we are disappointed that the governor vetoed the LICH bill, which is the Local Input in Community and Healthcare Act, that would have allowed the community to provide input on hospital closures, since they would be treated as CONs if it would have passed. That's one thing. And another thing that we're also disappointed on is that she also vetoed our bill to ban the taking of horseshoe crabs, which are in danger and have been on the earth for as long as the dinosaurs. So that's it. Happy holidays, everybody. Have a good time. Happy New Year.
Any
Signing off.
questions for
Any questions?
Cormac?
Cormac.
Thank you, Connor. Yes.
Connor, man. Connor is
So-
on point today. Connor is on point.
So would it be fair to sum up your report as we are disappointed in the governor?
That would be a fair assessment. if
Yes,
you would,
and also.
There is more.
And also,
in it, but
also a popular opinion in the state, I think. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about the vetoes. I know that the horseshoe crab bill was one of the assembly members' priorities for this past session. What are her priorities for next session?
Well, there's the EPR bill. That's one thing. The bottle bill is another one that has come up. So along those lines, I'm happy to connect you with our legislative director if you want more specific priorities, but anything else?
Any, we have some more questions. Zach and then Lois.
Since we're talking about state politics, we know congestion pricing is supposed to be coming back, but it's not going to be enough money to fill the gap that the MTA needs from funding. So curious what the assembly member plans to do to help close that financing gap for the MTA.
I think that's gonna be probably a conversation for the next session. I don't have much else than that because we know that that's only gonna raise about 15, and then the capital plan from this year was like much more than that. So at least the MTA has been clear about how they're gonna use those 15. If that answers your question.
It would be great if that could be more clear in her priorities going
Okay,
forward.
thank you. What's your name? Zach, nice to meet you.
So is there a discussion on fluoride in tap water with the assembly and the committee or for the future?
No, I don't have an answer on that yet, but if you want, I can probably get one for you next year.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Evan.
Hi, everyone. Tevin from Congressman Goldman's office. First off, happy holidays. It's good to see everyone. I'm glad that everyone is healthy and safe, and I hope that if you're traveling, you have safe travels from the Congressman's office. Real quick update on the district front, and then just 2 on the DC front, then I'll offer questions. I'm gonna also have some special words for everyone here. Just want to say that the Congressman hosted or spoke at the oversight hearing just 2 weeks ago. As many of you know in the village, the United States Postal Service is not great. And there is a bipartisan front now to address that. So if you'd like to watch that hearing, you can see the clips from that. But there's been many issues with stolen Social Security checks. In your neighborhoods, you all know that there's an issue with glue traps in some of the blue boxes. So people are getting their mail stolen. Our Brooklyn part of our district is 60% of our district. And one fun fact, 1/3 of all postal theft in America happens in Brooklyn and Queens. So I live in Park Slope, so I told the congressman he works for me too. But we have a ton of postal theft in Brooklyn, and we know we have that issue here in Manhattan as well. So you can find out more information and watch that hearing online. On the DC front, I just want to say the congressman has called, along with Senator Chuck Schumer, for the IRS to expedite processing on low risk. If you may know about this, the Employee Retention Tax Credit, which helps small businesses that employed their employees during the pandemic. There's about $10 billion that can go out to people right now, which is great. Finally, I just want to say that the congressman has been appointed to a co-chair of the Bipartisan Task Force Against Anti-Semitism, which will be happening next year. So please stay tuned on that. If you're not already, you can go online and subscribe to our newsletter. You can also check out more information. Some of you may know this, it's a little bit sad, but I am also leaving the congressman's office in a couple of weeks. I want to say this really quickly before I get really emotional. I just left CB1 and I love CB1, but as many of you know, I came from Brad Hoylman's office. Y'all were the very first community board that I ever dealt with in my entire life as a Southern boy from South Georgia. So I am so thankful to each of one of you. I have learned something from every single person. I've witnessed 2 great district managers. I've witnessed 2 great chairs, Janine and Susan. See, you hear my voice starting to crack up. Thank you so much to all of you. I am so thankful.
Have you made a decision on what your next step is?
I will announce that next week. But
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
I will tell everyone, thank you all so much for the great work you did in community board.
We will miss you. We will miss you.
Any questions for me before I go?
Oh, Eddie? Mike? Yes. Connor, you are.
A doll.
A doll.
A doll. We love Connor.
Is the government going to shut down?
Good question. They were supposed to vote on a CR tonight. I have not heard anything as of right now. Yeah. We had a bipartisan agreement. Elon Musk said he didn't like it. Trump said he didn't like it. That pretty much has been the issue we're failing with right now. I know. Other questions? All right, I'm going to head out. Thank you all so much.
I love that.
Hi, I'm Caroline Wexelbaum. I'm from State Senator Brad Hoylman Siegel's office, and I used to work with Tevin, and he will be very, very missed. Tough act to follow. Just a few quick updates. So on December 11th, Senator Hoylman Siegel's bill was signed that requires private insurers to cover dyslexia testing in New York, which is a really big deal. So neuropsych exams will be covered now. And this will be great for kids who struggle with reading, dyslexia, dysgraphia, which I know CB2 was very invested in. So we thank you so much for your support. So that'll be really, really great. Another thing, we wanted to highlight one of our priorities for next session, which is our ghost gun bill. So right now, the possession or distribution of a 3D printed gun is illegal, but the manufacturing of ghost guns is not. And so Senator Hoylman Siegel carries a bill that would also make that illegal. And as we all probably know by now, in the shooting of the United Healthcare CEO, a ghost gun was used. Oh, also our report is out there and we have a wonderful QR code so you can click all the links. Just one more thing, the groundbreaking of the new American LGBTQ plus museum, not in CB2, but on the Upper West Side. It will be attached to the New York Historical Society. Senator Hoylman Siegel helped to secure $9 million for it from New York State, which was really, really big. And so that should be completed hopefully in a few years, but it's a big deal because it's the first of its kind in the United States. So we have many, many other things. I counted the items, 27, but if I can answer any questions, I'd be happy to.
Any question? Okay, I see Rocio, and we'll start with Rocio. And then we will go online to Biani.
Hi, thank you very much for coming tonight and speaking with us. A couple of months ago, when he first proposed the dyslexia testing, I questioned what do families do? Here's my question again. What do families do whose family members have dyslexia or may have dyslexia and they do not have private insurance? What is the coverage for those families?
Would that be like public health insurance or no insurance?
No insurance whatsoever. What do they do?
I am honestly not sure, but I would be happy to get you the answer. Presumably there is some testing in schools, but I don't want to misspeak. I'd be happy to get back to you on that.
Thank you.
Anyone else for Carolyn? Okay.
Happy holidays.
Happy
Thank you,
holidays.
Susie.
Thank you. We're going to go next to Biani Rodriguez. Are you, I hope she should.
Hi, can you hear me?
Oh, yes, we can.
Too loud, I'm sorry. Hi, I'm Biani Rodriguez from the Office of Councilmember Carlina Rivera, and I'll try to keep it brief. Councilmember Rivera recently announced funding to support Latinx studies. And also during Thanksgiving, we joined God's Love We Deliver, and they were celebrating their 40th million meal, which is a lot of meals, and we were happy to join them and celebrate this incredible milestone. We also distributed over 500 turkeys, chickens, and vegan meals. So we were so grateful that we were able to provide that for the community. Councilmember Rivera chaired the committee hearing focused on supporting the arts, culture, and history of Indigenous people in New York City, which is a great topic that a lot of people don't know about, and we can definitely bring more awareness to this. And finally, we celebrated the tree lightings in all of our parks, and we are looking forward to joining the carolers next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Biani. Anyone have questions? Okay, I see none. Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Smith.
Can you just elaborate on the Latinx curriculum that you just mentioned, studies? You just mentioned it in passing. Is that something that's starting, that you all developed, or can you talk more about that?
Yeah. Yeah. So we announced a 3 million funding in education, in an education equity action plan funding awarded to United Way, Hispanic Federations, and the Teachers College. And they are going to lead a comprehensive citywide Latinx culture and history curriculum development program. And, you know, students are best served when they have a variety of content that teaches authentically and honestly about the world that we live in, especially living in a city like New York, which is a multicultural city. Um, yeah, let me know if you have follow-up questions to that.
Thank you. Lois.
Follow up. Who is writing the curriculum?
Yeah, so the curriculum will be written by United Way of NYC, Hispanic Federation, and Teachers College.
Thank you. Any more questions? I'm sorry, my screen is not working either, so no one's online. Thank you, Biani. Is there anyone else, any other reps that I did not call on that I've missed? Can we go back to? Oh, I'm sorry. Hayden, why don't, has he been elevated? Oh. Okay. Okay, Hayden, why don't you go next then? Thank you. Mhm. Okay, there he is.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I have just a few updates before the end of our year here from Assemblymember Lee. First of all, we have some office closures coming up. This week, our staff is remote, and we will be closed starting Monday and going up until the new year. We'll be back open on the 2nd of January. A couple legislative updates. Of course, January marks the start of the new legislative cycle. It also marks the second term for Assemblymember Lee, and we're very excited to resume our work. We have some mailers coming in soon. One of them will be a end of the year legislative updates mailer. And then the other one will be our holiday mailer, just from the Assembly members' family, wishing everyone a happy holidays. That holiday mailer will go to every household in Assembly District 65, and that legislative newsletter mailer will be going to most households as well. Some community engagement updates. We've had several successful toy drives lately. Most notably, we hosted a toy drive alongside Henry Street Settlement and the Carpenters Alliance this past Saturday. And then regarding the Delancey Essex elevator, I'm not as familiar with this issue. I'm covering for another staff member right now, but I'm pleased to report that our office is working with the MTA to include this in their 2025 capital improvements plan. That about wraps it up. Happy holidays. Thank you for all your time here and for all the work that you do throughout each year. I'm happy to take any questions. I might not be as equipped to answer them, but I'd be happy to take them down and get you an answer from the staff member who's more knowledgeable on the issue.
Any questions for Hayden, for Councilmember Lee? Sorry. Okay, no questions. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry, I can't see behind me. And I think we've got all of our electeds and their reps. So, are we ready to go back to the public session, or else I will give my report?
So Andrew Berman, Lanel, and Sam. Those were the three on Zoom.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Great. Thank you very much. I'm Andrew Berman, speaking on behalf of Village Preservation regarding the Gansevoort Square plan. It's disgraceful for the city to put forward a proposal of such enormous consequence and say they're issuing an RFP within a month with the holidays in between. That is not consultation, that is steamrolling, and we shouldn't stand for it. I appreciate the community board also pushing back and demanding more time for this review. But the rushed time frame is only the tip of the iceberg of the problems with this plan. Chief among them is the outrageously oversized 600-foot tall tower, inflated by the equally outrageous inclusion of up to 450 units of super luxury housing. There's no excuse for using public land to build what will likely be part-time homes for the super rich. If the housing were limited here to just the quote-unquote affordable units, the tower would be between 1/4 and 1/2 of the proposed height, much more in context with its surroundings. The city claims that because the site can generate high value, they must rely on luxury housing to pay for any affordable housing. What that completely ignores is that, unlike other sites, this is public land with no acquisition cost. On public land, we should have a higher standard for how it is used. The city also claims that it would have to move very slowly to build 100% affordable housing here if there were no luxury housing to fund it. But paradoxically, just blocks away at 388 Hudson Street, the city says they can move swiftly to build 100% affordable housing with a new recreation center too. Both of these cannot be true. Someone is lying. The city just secured $4 billion additional dollars for affordable housing as part of the City of Yes deal. Where better to spend a tiny fraction of that money than here? The city must slow down the process, rethink the plan, reduce the height, and remove all the luxury housing from Gansevoort Square. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Andrew. Next, we have Lanel Stevens. Am I saying that right? Lanel Stevens?
Yes, good evening. I'm Linnell Stevens, and I'm also speaking on behalf of Village Preservation. And I'm adding to Andrew Berman's comments regarding Gansevoort Square. It's important to understand how exceptionally oversized and out of scale the planned 60-story, 600-foot tall tower would be. One must look to Hudson Yards or to the financial district to find buildings of similar scale. The tallest buildings nearby rarely exceed 200 feet. The tallest buildings in Greenwich Village, located much closer to Fifth Avenue, are only about 300 feet tall, half the proposed height. The proposed tower would be even more exceptional in the density of housing units formed into this small 10,000 square foot site. Number 2 Fifth Avenue, a huge 343-unit apartment tower, has just over half the number of units proposed for this tower, but spread over a site 5 times the size, making the proposed Gansevoort Tower more than 7.5 times as dense. The nearby West Beth Affordable Housing Complex has 383 units spread over 13 buildings on a lot nearly 10 times the size of the proposed Gansevoort Tower, making the tower's density more than 15 times as great. And finally, the nearby West Village houses, designed by Jane Jacobs and neighborhood residents to serve as a model for how to add new housing to the West Village, contains 420 units spread over 42 buildings over 6 city blocks on 16.5 times as much land as the proposed tower. This means the proposed Gansevoort Tower would be almost 25 times as dense as this model housing development. The ludicrous scale of the proposed tower, in terms of height as well as density, is unprecedented in this neighborhood or anywhere near it. It's critical that we demand the city rethink this incredibly misguided plan. Thank you.
Thanks. Next, we have Sam. Oh, no one promoted Sam. Sam Moskowitz. Maybe allow to talk?
Yes. Hi, everyone. How are you?
Great.
So my name's Sam Moskowitz. I'm also speaking on behalf of Village Preservation, and I'm adding to Andrew's testimony regarding Gansevoort Square. It's important that we understand how much of the proposed oversized Gansevoort Tower would be affordable and what exactly affordable means in this case. The city is only requiring that 25%, or 150 out of 600 units, are affordable. with the remainder incredibly expensive market rate units that only the very wealthiest New Yorkers and non-New Yorkers could afford. They say they are aspiring to find a developer who will offer more affordable units, with 50% being the maximum that could be included. But anything more than 25% is purely aspirational. The 25 or so percent affordable units will also be of limited affordability. They are only required to be affordable to those who on average make 60% of area median income, or AMI, which covers New York City as well as several wealthier suburban counties. 60% of AMI is just slightly below the median income for New York City residents, meaning too high for just under half of New Yorkers to qualify. But more perniciously, these will be rental units, supposedly geared towards New York City residents who need assistance to find affordable rental housing. But the median income for renters in New York City is actually below 60% of AMI. So 60% of AMI is actually too high for the majority of New York City renters to qualify for or to afford. So up to 75% of this tower would be unaffordable to all but the richest of the rich. And the other 25 or so percent would, on average, be unaffordable to the majority of New York City renters. These so-called affordable units will certainly be cheaper than market rate units and accessible to many who otherwise couldn't afford new housing here. But even these would be of limited affordability, in exchange for which the city is asking us to accept hundreds of units of super luxury housing and an unprecedented height and scale. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. In the room, I think that's all we had online. I will ask in just a second if there's anyone I didn't call on. Visa, are you here in the room? Someone named Visa, am I reading this right? Visa, V-E-S-A? Vera, okay. I can't read anybody's handwriting. Vera, if you could come down to the mic. This mic over here where everyone's been speaking. Thank you.
So thank you for having us here. I want to strongly second what the Village Preservation Society people said. The building is outrageously disproportional for our neighborhood. It will be a disgrace to our neighborhood. It is a city-owned lot, which in my eyes means that it belongs to all of us. It's acquired and will be developed by tax money, which means it's our building. This might be completely out of line here, but I feel if a building is built, no matter how big or small, in a city-owned lot with taxpayer money, there should be an architectural competition. We cannot just be served with something that's completely outsized, a disgrace to our neighborhood, rushed through the process during the holidays when we're all overburdened and cannot really discuss it at length. It's an insult what's happening, and I strongly oppose it.
Thank you so much. So if somebody has a question, they need a microphone because nobody can hear you online.
The lady asked where I live. I live a half a block from the site, 77 Horatio, corner of Washington Street.
Great. Are there any other questions for our speaker? Great. No, I was asking the audience, the board members. Great. Is there anyone I did not call on in the room or on Zoom that thinks they signed up to speak, but they did not? If you'll raise your hand, I'm happy to call on you now. Don't see anyone in the room. And I don't see anyone on Zoom. So with that, I will close the public session and turn it back over to our chair, Susan Kent. I'm sorry, is there someone with their hand raised? Thank you for pointing. I don't see a hand raised anymore. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. Okay, at this point, I will take a motion to adopt the agenda. And a second, and all in favor. Okay, at this point, I will give a brief report. This morning, I attended the monthly borough board. The Borough President's Office announced they are rolling out today a brand-new program to expand childcare and the pre-K program. This will specifically, this is targeted towards children 2 and under to provide much-needed childcare, which is, as we know, I'm so sorry, to people of a moderate income. It is just coming out today. It's been announced, so more news as we learn details. There were 2 presentations, one from the Office of Nightlife and the other from Landmarks. If anyone's interested in learning more about how either of these offices or agency works, I encourage you to look at watch the video. If anyone is interested in having presentations by either of these entities at the committee level, something that is targeted towards CB2, please let us know and we will reach out. I just want to thank everybody who showed up at our great holiday gathering on the 9th at the Brass Monkey. Thank you so much. If anyone still wishes to contribute to our staff collection, I will be accepting funds for the next few days. The community board applications will be coming out in January. So anyone who is up for reappointment, please be on the lookout. The deadline is currently the end of February. And I think that is it for me. I will turn it over to Mark for his report. And happy holidays, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. I know it's a tough time of year to make time for us.
Okay, yes, okay, thank you. And thank you to the Sheen Center, especially for the on the fly troubleshooting while I was off trying to get our equipment. I didn't bring our equipment because it doesn't work with theirs, but maybe next time I'll bring everything I possibly own and then some, and we won't do this again. Couple of new buttons on the website that I want to call your attention to. And again, I ended a sentence with a preposition. One is Gansevoort Square. Right now, it's just the presentation from the December 11th meeting, land use meeting. I understand that there's a resolution on our docket tonight. Obviously, that will go there. And Katie and Eugene, if there are other things that you want added, of course, we'll continue to add them. But it's right on the website so we can follow along. Same for congestion pricing, which, like it or not, is coming our way. And yeah, well, I'm not allowed to editorialize, but it's there's a lot of facts and helpful information directly from MTA that's now under featured news on our website. So hopefully folks will not be surprised. One of those, by the way, I want to call special attention to, which is that there are programs for discounts and capping of the congestion toll that are part of the program. And there's a special flyer in the things that we've posted so that if you have questions about, for example, people who need to come into the congestion zone for medical treatments and so forth, there are ways in which you can qualify for reduced or even eliminated tolls for that. You or folks you know may be interested in that. We are continuing apace with the Airtable conversion, and we've been getting good feedback, which we're incorporating as to the naming convention. Essentially, the way we name the documents will have a lot to do with how easily you'll find them once they're on the database. And conversely, if we name them incorrectly, you'll never find them. So if there's one of those documents that you want hidden, just let me know and we'll make sure. And we have the staff capacity right now to do that. So I'm eager to get that started, but I don't want to do it so fast that we name things incorrectly. And I want to thank all the folks who have given us feedback on that. There was a rumor that I want to partially accept and partially correct, that I've been telling you that St. Anthony's, the basement, is going to be the subject of a massive renovation because its floor is a roller coaster. And there was a concern that it was not going to be available even sooner than we thought. So I visited this week, and I understand that our January SLA meeting is safe, but it's possible that even starting in February as opposed to March, which was the original guess, would be unavailable. Malik was with us tonight, and I'm sorry if he left because, is he still here? Oh, he has left. Okay. Malik has been a hero. We now have the Lennox Health alternative for February, March, April, and half of May. So we have a couple of more things to do. We'll keep looking for new venues, but we have some breathing room in which to do it. Last thing I'll note is that the district office will be staffed during the holidays. Might be a little thinly staffed on days, but it's going to be staffed. We'll probably be closing a little bit early on the eves of Christmas, Hanukkah, and of New Year's, but we'll be there and look forward to working on what we have to do for tonight. Unless there are questions, I'm going to sit down.
I don't see any questions. Okay, thank you, Mark. Okay, at this point, we're going to start the business session. So we will have a roll call to confirm.
Beautiful. Thanks, folks. And I think maybe a couple have joined since, so I'm just gonna call the whole thing. Ready? Susanna Aaron. Great. Keen Berger. Carter Booth. Katie Bordenero. Amy Brenna. Rich Cacapolo. Ritu, I don't believe is online. Great. Valerie De La Rosa. Here. Chris Dignas. Mark Fitzgerald. Stella Fitzgerald. Here. Thank you. Cormac Flynn. Susan Gammy. Juliet Kay. Zachary Kazaz. Susan Kent.
Here.
Ryder Kessler. Janine Kiley. Ivy Quanners.
Here.
Janet Liff. Benjamin Lissman. Ed Ma.
Yeah, here.
Matt Metzger. Thank you. Erica Olson. Brian Pape. Donna Raftery. Lois Rakoff. Bo Riccobono.
Here.
Thank you. Rusio Sands. Shirley Secunda.
Here.
Eddie Siegel. Emma Smith here. Dr. Shirley Smith.
Frederica Siegel's here.
Oh, Frederica, pardon me. Thank
No
you.
problem.
Chenault Spence.
Here.
Susan Wittenberg. Anthony Wong. Eugene Yu. Thanks, folks.
Thank you. Okay, next, the November full board minutes. Does anyone have any changes to them, amendments, questions, anything like that? If not, I will take a motion to approve those minutes. And a second. And all in favor? Thank you. Next, we go to our standing committee reports, and we're starting with street activities. And who is, I know, oh, thank you.
Hi, everyone. Will's not here, so I am presenting in his place, and we miss Brian dearly. We heard 7 applications, all of which have already happened, but I will fly through them anyway. The first one is a pop-up Barbie's Stream House presented by Verizon. And that's at 224 Lafayette, which is right along Petrosina Square, which is one place that we always kind of have a lot of action. So we talked about this quite a bit. We did adopt it unanimously, but we stipulated that no scissor lifts be used for setup because it wakes the residents up quite early, and that all exterior lighting be turned off. So we're trying to mitigate the disruption for the residents in that area. And that was 1 and 2. They were production and then signage. Number 3 was a Simpsons ESPN pop-up, I guess more of a branded food truck. They gave out donuts. on 13th between Broadway and 4th Ave. No issues there, adopted unanimously. The 4th is another sort of pop-up, a fashion collaboration off-white store at 51 Mercer in collaboration with a brand called Beastroy. They just wanted 8 stanchions outside. Again, no issues, adopted unanimously. Number 5 is another collaboration, this time Uniqlo, so at 546 Broadway, collaborating with a brand called the Cactus Plant Flea Market, unanimously approved. Number 6, another pop-up, this time on, let me see, 39 Wooster between Broome and Grand. The clothing brand is called Naked. It's a Scandinavian brand. Again, just stanchions, so unanimously approved. And then the last one, save the best for last. It's a McDonald's McRib singing bus. So there were carolers on top of a bus singing McRib themed holiday songs.
You get.
On Washington Square Park South. I'm glad some of our community got to experience it. They did give away $5 McDonald's gift cards, apparently. Eddie.
Wow.
This is the gift of street activities to you, Eddie. Unanimously approved. No issues.
Okay, does anyone want to discuss any of those items, call them out? If not, if there's no objection, then we will vote on them as a block. There were items 1 through 7. They were all unanimous. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions or recusals? Okay, they all pass. So next we have traffic and parks.
All
And
right.
Shirley will be presenting it.
Okay, so this was a joint meeting of Parks and Waterfront and Traffic and Transportation.
Hold on a second, Shirley,
Okay.
you're muffled sounding. The volume's okay, but you're muffled.
Oh dear.
It's not,
You want me to keep talking and you try?
yeah, everyone else online sounds clear, so is it something with your microphone? Is there something covering it or?
Not that I know. No, not that I see. That's weird.
You know, something, Shirley, Rich is gonna deliver this, think it'll be clearer. So, if you want, Rich, we'll come back to you. If you're not ready, we can do the next one. I'm sorry. If you sit back, the suggestion is if you're too close to the mic.
Do you hear me any better now?
I'm afraid not.
Well, let me get closer.
It's
How
okay.
about when I'm closer?
You know, Shirley, Rich is gonna present. It's just one, yeah.
Is that okay, Shirley?
Okay, sure.
Sure.
You can't hear me, you can't hear me. Strange.
Please read the resolution. It was a joint committee meeting to hear about and to discuss a council bill around e-bikes in parks. And it's very well explained in the whereas clauses. And the committee decided they couldn't support it. And so the therefore be it resolved that CB2 cannot support intro 0600-2024.
Okay. Any discussion? I'm sorry. Well, that's a technicality.
Yeah,
We'll,
you're right. Say that.
we'll put that in. Well, that's just a technical.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions?
Any discussion of this resolution? Anyone want to discuss it? If not, then all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we have some opposed. I see Rocio Sands. And Cormac? And Anthony won. Yes, Cormac, I have.
Rosio and Anthony, thank
So
you.
there's 3 opposed. Any
Thank you.
abstentions? Yep. Recusals. Okay.
Then our committees separated. We had a Parks Committee meeting. It was, there were 3 topics, but we wrote a resolution on one. It was about a piece of artwork called To Reflect Everything, which will be a temporary installation in Washington Square Park. Again, the whereases are explain about the artwork and about the organization within the Parks Department that works on it, on these things. And so we said, therefore be it resolved that Manhattan Community Board 2 recognizes the value of the Art in the Parks program in enriching New York City parks with diverse artworks. And 2, supports this installation and pledges to work with the Parks Department, CB2, and other stakeholders to ensure the community is informed and involved in this project.
Thank you. Any discussion on this resolution? Okay, then all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions or recusals? Okay, passes. Thank you very much. So next is landmarks.
We have 2 meetings. I'm getting an echo. Are you hearing it?
You sound fine, Chanel.
Okay, one moment. I'll redo my sound and begin. I'm still fine.
You're fine. Just keep,
Okay.
just continue.
Okay. 38 Bedford Street. To replace front elevation windows with an alternate material. It's unusual that people come and don't want to do proper material, but it's the case. Recommend denial of the non-historic material fiberglass for the windows and as being non-historic material. Approval of the design of the windows and the surround as agreed. And we discussed with the applicant changing to wood. 35 Bethune Street to install a new entrance infill. Approval of the entryway is reflecting the original industrial entrance and suitable for the present residential use. That the applicant reconsider incorporating ADA access to the renovation of the entrance. 34 West 12th Street, renovate the rear facade to include structural repairs and selected spots of the wall, retain existing brick and use existing brick to finish patch material, increase building height to 9 inches above the adjacent neighbors, power wash and clean to unify the rear facade. Recommend approval of repairs and modification of the rear facade. Agrees to the design and stair merits approval of revocable consent for the intrusion into the sidewalk. Unusually, it's not separated to a separate resolution because the applicant represented that they'd already received their approval without our recommendation. 83 Horatio Street to excavate the rear cellar, revise the design of the rear yard, install a new double height opening at the rear facade of the garden and basement level, replace iron gate under the front stoop and window guards at the front facade at street level, install new elevator overrun at the roof level, and expand the existing rooftop bulkhead. The design for the window guards and gates be of a more suitable historic design as agreed by the applicant. That the design for the window wall in the garden and parlor floors be modified to reflect the rhythm of the historic 3-window opening and give the appearance of punched openings rather than modern sheet glass without defined edges. Approve the general design of the garden with the return of the garden to align with the other gardens in the donut. That the rear facade construction and garden modifications not be considered until the applicant has returned for a public hearing with drawings and documents detailing the work of excavation and underpinning. This was just a defective application and that those had not been considered. The rooftop addition not be considered until the applicant has returned for a public hearing by CB2 with photographs of a proper mock-up of the rooftop addition. There was one advantageous view and some that were asserted by the public to be more obvious. And again, it was an efficient application. And they agreed to come back, so it's not contentious. 271 West 11th Street provide new brownstone stucco entry steps, cast iron railing, new ground floor window and entry doors, brownstone stucco door, surround, crossheader, and pediment to reconfigure the areaway. Recommend approval of the restoration of the entry stairs and areaway in addition to the historic restoration of the facade. That's that one complete, and there was a quorum for this, so we should probably do it, the others separately.
Okay, great. Thank you, Chenault. Let's look at these together. Okay, we have 5 resolutions. Does anyone want to discuss any of them or call them out? If not, then all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions or recusals? Okay, thank you. The second meeting.
We did not have a quorum. 38 Bedford Street to replace the front elevation windows. I'm sorry. You've heard that already. '66 Paris Street, application to install a stoop gate. This is very common in the village. This is only a New York story that this is the house made famous by Sex and the City, and the poor woman is overrun with people clambering up her steps. Recommend approval of this application as being sensitive to the design of the house, especially with its matching the existing elegant ironwork. It's the best designed gate we've ever had. 241 West 4th Street to restore entry stairs and areaway. Recommend approval of the application for restoration of the area entryway, stairs, and areaway. 241 West 4th Street is a recommendation separately for revocable consent for this project. 156 Waverly Place, restore facade, construct a rooftop addition with mechanical equipment, reconfigure the rear facade, and change windows and excavations, and a new garden. This is an application that had come before us, and there were 2 things that we requested that they did that were modifications, and they added a newly added to do an entry gate. So this is, it's not gone before the commission, so it's just one amalgamated resolution. It's particularly, if you can look before you at whereas I, there is an egregiously bold rooftop addition that's completely at a variance with anything we would ever approve in the village. The site is unusual because it's where Waverly Place turns, so the whole north extension of Waverly Place makes it an impossible site to have a rooftop addition that's not visible. And this one is not particularly attractive and really more far forward than it needs to be, and it just won't do, in our view. Approval of the sensitive restoration of the sole surviving front facade in the row and the stoop gate. Approval of basement excavation underpinning provided that all regulations are followed with the usual boilerplate about being careful. Approval with reservation the excavation of the rear yard for which mature trees were removed before there was consideration of the application. Denial of the rooftop addition detailed in whereas I as blatantly visible from a public thoroughfare in a district where it is widely known that the long-standing policy is that such additions must be minimally visible from any public thoroughfare. That the commission, in view of the applicant's willful and excessive misrepresentation of the visibility of the rooftop addition, not hold a hearing with respect to any alternate proposal until it has been reviewed by the CB2 Landmarks Committee with a full mock-up and accurate photographs of the visibility. And we will submit testimony with a full set of photographs, which they declined to include in the new presentation. 465 6th Avenue, application to legalize facade renovations constructed without LPC permits and install signage. The applicant agreed to return, approval of the infill and signs. The applicant agreed to return for public hearing concerning the lighting, which was just not presented. 182, 184 West 4th Street. Approve the restoration and color, which is a modest white, off-white, of the facade, and approval of the lighting of the entablature provided that is regulated to be no brighter than a glow. I passed it on the way home, and it was indeed a glow. 184 7th Avenue South, to legalize painting of a wall mural on the facade and installation of an awning. Yet another of those very peculiar tiny shops from the cutting of the subway. Recommend approval of the awning, paint, and wall design as suitable to the building and to this location. We were very careful in the whereas for this and for the sign for the 6th Avenue to word that so that we're not setting precedents that these could be done anywhere in the village, but particularly 6th Avenue and 7th Avenue South with their more commercial character, that they were in order. Thank you.
Thank you, Chenault. Okay, anyone want to discuss any?
That's finished, Susan.
I'm sorry? You're done? Yeah. Um, does anyone want to discuss any of these items? I know there is no official vote on this, but, you do have their recommendation nonetheless. But does anyone want to just call out any of these 7 items or discuss them? If not, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions or recusals? Thank you. Next.
I've lost sound from the room. If you can hear, with Susan, you can carry on. Susan, got anything that
Oh,
he's
I'm sorry.
doing?
We're good. Everything's fine, Chenault. Okay. So next is cannabis.
All right. There we go. All right, we had 3 applications and 1 review of public convenience and advantage standards, proposed amendments. Of the 3 retail locations that were proposed, 2 were the same, seemingly from 1 operator. The third seemed to be from no operator. So the 2 for 69 Gainsborough, Griffin Cannabis LLC and NYC Green Girl were again, both LLCs, the TPI, the true party of interest on both LLCs is actually Michael Shaw, who's well known to the board. This is the second time we have heard an application from them 1 year later, 2 years later. We voted to deny. He and the other applicant, James Chung, did not respond to outreach. Their attorney did not respond to outreach. They did not fill out a questionnaire. They did not provide any materials, hours, method of operation, anything. So, and we did get some community feedback in opposition. So for all of those reasons and all of the reasons in our previous resolution, which is linked in our current resolution, as well as resolutions from other community boards and letters over the years regarding this operator, shirking regulations and the law and stipulations, we voted to deny both. The third, Metro Heights, is the Wendy's on, oh, I have the wrong cross streets on here. It's the Wendy's between Broadway and Bond at 650 Broadway. We went to Wendy's and they did not seem to know that they would be moving out at all. It was very odd trying to track down the operators. When I did a deep dive, I actually realized that there were similarities to 3 applications currently up for consideration in CB1, called CB1. They had not heard from any of the applicants either. Then I fell down a rabbit hole of weird shell corporations in Detroit, all over Michigan, finally found a receptionist's cell phone number, left a message, still no. Oh, and a call center was involved at one point. So fictitious, didn't respond to outreach. We voted to deny. Those were the 3 retail. The fourth one was a review of the proposed amendments around public convenience and advantage. This basically a weakening, an attempted weakening of the 1,000-foot buffer around dispensaries. We had an application, Curaleaf, which is the #2 cannabis company, certainly in the country, possibly in the world, did give notice for 210 Lafayette for this month. They chose to withdraw. Ultimately, they may come back, but seeing that the 2 locations, Elevate Cannabis, which is a social equity license, and Alta Cannabis, also a social equity license, which flank 210 Lafayette, were, needless to say, very upset about this. They testified at the CCB meeting this month, and they also, as did Assemblymember Grace Lee, to advocate for not doing PCA at all at this time, because the argument is for the health of the market and to let the smaller operators really get, a chance without crazy competition, maybe put a pause on that, if at all. We wrote our resolution with recommendations because we had to comment officially by the 23rd. Well, really the 24th, because if you put something in the register and there's like a Sunday, it's Monday, but the 23rd, we needed to get those in. And so we fleshed it out how we thought it might work best. But because of all of the opposition at the last CCB meeting, they may pause it completely. Also, they are considering the CAB, which is the Cannabis Advisory Board, the little known Cannabis Advisory Board, proposed a temporary cap on licensure in the state of 1,600. If the CCB adopts that in the new year, the PCA stuff may be moot or may not be as bad. Anyway, these are our comments, and I am happy to take any questions. Oh, wait, there might be something else. No, that was it. Oh, there's an injunction. There's another injunction.
Yes, Carter. You finished?
Yeah. Yeah, so there's another injunction. This is just an FYI. It dropped a few days ago, and it's trying to stop provisional licenses from opening.
On resolution number 3 and the second, whereas the proposed premises are situated, it should be on the east side of Broadway. between Bleecker and Bond Streets within the NoHo Historic District located in the CB2's NoHo neighborhood.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Susanna? We need a microphone. It's coming down.
Yeah, that number 2 whereas is all messed up, but I'll update and fix it.
It's on.
Oh, it's not, sorry. Hi, I have some questions about the whereases in number 1. I noticed you say that the area is in a flood zone, but there's no flood mitigation measures were addressed, raising concerns. Is flood zone, is that part of, I don't know if I've ever noticed that in an SLA application, if that's a
We put it
consideration.
in our applications before, particularly last month around 388, which is extremely susceptible to flooding.
But in this case, it's not building a building for residents, it's a store, right? I didn't know if.
Well, actually, no, you remember that there actually are residences above the
No, I
store.
guess what I'm saying is that I understand that in this case, the landlord is also the property owner. If the landlord were not I'm
And
sorry,
the applicant.
I beg your pardon. The applicant is also the landlord. Is that why you have this here? Because if the applicant were not the property owner, would you still have this in here? I mean, is it?
I would still have it in there, because I think it's important to have building information and to understand what the challenges are with possible construction. That's why we also put in the historic or landmark information for a building as well.
Okay, but it's not the applicant's responsibility to address the flood mitigations. If the applicant.
It's a
does not-
consideration that has to be taken it's something that has to be taken into consideration if they're going to build there or operate there. Absolutely, for anybody, whether it be it the landlord, be it the operator.
Okay, that's unique to this because I've never seen that before
I've
in
put it
any
in
other consider.
a
No,
few
I'm not saying
resolutions.
unique, I'm saying unique to your committee, not unique to this application.
Well-
Because SLA does not, my understanding, unless the terms of approval are different, SLA doesn't, I've never seen, and maybe I'm just not noticing it, but I've never seen that consideration. And the other, I'm sorry, because it's related to this, failure to address historic preservation requirements for the landmark premises, which is which is also in your resolution. Is
Oh, it's-
landmark, so is that part of the applicant's responsibility to deal with landmark issues and to deal with?
Absolutely. If they're doing any construction, they need to know if they are in a landmark district or a landmark building or a historic district or a special district, because there are very, very, very specific restrictions and guidelines and rules associated with any of those designations. They are absolutely important.
No, I'm not saying that they're not important. It was not clear to me why they're the purview of this committee. That's all. In other words, I can see them being. purview-
Anything that happens
Landmarks.
having to do with the land use, right?
No,
is-
I mean, for
is-
cannabis license, I don't understand the relationship between.
Because cannabis
land use and
licenses are
cannabis
very
licensing.
specific to the premises,
I don't.
right? You can't separate a license from a location.
Neither can you with a liquor
With
license.
SLA, that's absolutely true. But we
So-
take into consideration and also cannabis is not SLA.
Okay, and then I guess I just wonder what the state's interest is in that and
Well,
whether the
the
state
state
asks us to.
Is
opine
behind,
on that.
right? The state is not actually considering these things, and we really, really want them to before they rubber stamp any more inappropriate licenses. So they need to see these things and we need to raise them and let them know that they're important so that they can raise them with the operators and they can take them into consideration, right? Cannabis, OCM and CCB, they are very famous for saying, you know, we're building the plane while flying it. There's a lot that they don't know, and it is our job to help inform them so that going forward, this process and this market can operate in a functional way, which it has not been to date.
Thank you. Two other things. You mentioned in this, the concern that the heightened risk of crime associated with a cash-heavy business model, you think is something that disqualifies this applicant. Isn't that true of every single?
It is, and it's
cannabis
been in, yes.
So
and
why
in
should we
the
get-
last 3 resolutions, since we started having robberies in the neighborhood.
So
yes, they've
basically,
been in
we're
the
never
resolution.
going to approve a cannabis application ever. I
It is
just
a
want to know.
consideration, right? And so it's a consideration and it's something we have to think about. The reason that it went into the first one for 388 is because actually the operator, the prospective operator for 388 had a robbery in one of his other locations, and that robbery was not successful because he had bulletproof glass. But those robbers then went out to the rest of the neighborhood and robbed nearby stores and residences. So this is why we raise it, so that we can talk about spillover crime and ways to mitigate it. We have to raise the issues if we want to help fix them.
Well, then that's going to be across the board for every single applicant that comes because it
Absolutely,
doesn't
and
matter
that's why
where they are.
since that happened, we also had another robbery at Elevate
Also,
on
you-
November
you-
19th.
I'm sorry,
So
you
this
mentioned
is
proximity-
absolutely something we have to be thinking about.
Proximity to sensitive areas that make the location inappropriate for a cannabis seems to me arbitrary, not clear. It does not seem, I mean.
The High Line.
No,
So what we
inappropriate,
talk about.
inappropriate. Who gets to define inappropriate? I guess
Are,
that's
are
my
you,
question.
I'm sorry, are you proposing an amendment to this?
No,
or
I'm
is this
not.
just a
I'm not.
back and forth?
I support the resolution. I have questions about the whereas, and I raise
You
it
can call me
because-
anytime.
Because this committee is a trailblazing committee. This is a committee that we didn't have 3 years ago. And the work that it's doing, which is difficult and challenging, is setting a model for how we go forward on this. So that what we consider or don't consider as reasons why an applicant is or isn't eligible is important at this stage. And that's why I'm raising these questions.
No
Thank you.
problem. I'm
It
just
is
asking.
very
if you wanted
important,
to
and we are trailblazing, and that's why we want to be as detailed and raise as many red flags and issues as possible, so that the process is comprehensive going forward. It is a tremendous responsibility to be the first. And by the way, being the first, it is actually time for our first 3 dispensaries, the first 3 dispensaries in New York State, to renew their licenses. So they will be coming back to us in January, and we're all very excited. It's been 2 years already.
Yes, Janine.
I just want to point out that none of these applicants showed up, which was the biggest reason why. Yeah, I just want to point out, yes, okay.
And while that is a good reason to deny, it is not a reason that the OCM will consider. And so we have to speak very specifically to reasons that will allow and inspire the OCM to deny, because technically we can only speak to time, place, and manner. And when we, in the absence of that, we have to raise all of the other issues.
Does anyone else want to discuss any of these resolutions? I'm sorry, is there anyone online? I can't see behind me. I see no hands. Is there any objection to then voting on these? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? I'm sorry. Matt, Matt is a recusal, that's right. On all, because, yes, please just repeat the reason for. Okay, so he works for, his employer is involved with the funding of these, of the projects. Thank you. I'm sorry, yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we have
So-
Janet Liff and we have Ryder Kessler abstaining.
Thank you.
Any others? Okay, then they pass. Thank you. More. Outdoor dining.
Great, thank you so much. Things are heating up for the outdoor dining working group. We met during the last week of November, last Tuesday, and our next meeting is Monday, December 23rd. We have had 75 dining out NYC applications referred to CB2 as of this past Monday in total. That's 41 roadway cafes and 34 sidewalk cafes. 60% of those applications were referred to us in the last 3 weeks. With that, there are 22 resolutions to vote on this evening. I will be telling you about 3 of them in from our November 26th meeting. Number 1, Tatane Core DBA Fiat Cafe at 203 Mott Street, Sidewalk Cafe. Whereas Manhattan CB2 recommends conditionally denying the Dining Out NYC Sidewalk Cafe for Tatane Core DBA Fiat Cafe at 203 Mott Street, 10013. And upon receipt of the updated site plan with the recommended modifications, which the applicant/licensee is in the process of amending, including receipt of the original and signed modifications form. The conditional denial will turn into an approval with modifications. Vote unanimous, 6 in favor. And I'll go through these two, and then I don't know if you want to do both reports voting all at once or. Okay, great. Number 2 is 78 Fifth Avenue, Cafaneo Inc., DBA Ariston Flowers and Cafe, 78 Fifth Avenue, 111. Manhattan CB2 recommends conditionally denying the Dining Out NYC Sidewalk Cafe for Ariston Flowers and Cafe. And upon receipt of the updated site plan with the recommended modifications, which the applicant licensee is in the process of amending, including receipt of the signed modifications form, the conditional denial will turn into an approval with modifications. Vote unanimous, 6 in favor. And then the third item that we have is Dynamic Music Core, DBA Olive Tree Cafe and Comedy Cellar. You can barely hear me online. Is that true?
That just got so much better. Thank you.
Yes? Okay. Dynamic. Okay, well, I'm speaking as loud as I can, and I really don't want to shout too much in the room. So Dynamic Music Core, DBA Olive Tree Cafe and Comedy Cellar at 117 McDougal Street, 10012. And Manhattan CB2 recommends denial of the Dining Out NYC Sidewalk Cafe for Olive Tree Cafe and Comedy Cellar at 117 McDougal. Vote unanimous in favor. So those are the 3 to vote on this evening. Numbers 4 through 9 are comments that were submitted for roadway cafes. Okay.
Oh, we go.
Okay. Rich?
Do all of the applicants are restaurants that are open already? Or are any of them soon to open?
These are all existing operators.
Including the 4 through 9s?
Yes.
Okay, those in the 4 through 9. Okay, thanks.
Yes. Cormac? Oh, you could wait until the microphone gets up to you.
My apologies, I should have come down. I just want to say on item 4, the pop-up bagels, the 5th and final bullet on page 6 of the November 26th report, it says FDNY waivers should be unilaterally applied when I think you mean uniformly.
Okay.
Thanks.
Ryder?
Thanks. I had a question about number 3, which my understanding reading it is that to comply with regulations, the sidewalk cafe would have to be quite small. And so you say the size would have to be what it is, which does not seem reasonable. Is that, like, what does the applicant think of that? Did they engage on the idea of making it small enough to fit, but still having it? If it's one table, they might want the one table. So I'm curious if they weighed in on that bullet point.
So they did weigh in when we told them what the calculation was, that based on it's an 11-foot sidewalk, I believe, and a 10-foot clear path is required on there. That's in the rules. And so that leaves a 1-foot sidewalk cafe. So there's not really much to make in there. So, yeah, so,
it's not that it's
an
not
ADA
reasonable, it's just, it would be impossible to cite.
Well, it's unreasonable because it's not ADA compliant.
I understand.
Yeah, which is also part of the rules. Any other questions on? They also have they have a roadway cafe that'll come. I mean, not a roadway, this is the roadway. They have a sidewalk cafe. No, they have a roadway cafe that's in the next report. Sorry, there's so many of these, so sorry about that. So there are, they're not completely out, so.
Got it, thank you.
Yeah.
If any more discussion of these 3 items? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions or recusals? Thank you.
Great. And then just really quickly to end the November report. Just put this up. Okay. Really quick 3 trends, and then I'll turn over for the December report. DOT is prioritizing roadway cafe applications since it is less than 4 months until April 1st, when the roadway cafes can start operating again. The committee is typically hearing applications within a week of referral from DOT, And on average, it has taken an applicant 6 months to actually be referred to us from the date that they applied. So as you know, everyone's applied in a staggered fashion. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Stella Fitzgerald, who's the vice chair for the Outdoor Dining Working Group, and she will present the December 10th meeting report.
Can you all hear me okay? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so we have 19 resolutions from our December 10th meeting, 18 being new applications heard for the first time, and another that we've reopened to revise our vote from the November 26th meeting after receiving new information. And everything was unanimous. So number 1 is Renana LLC DBA Jack's wife Frida at 72 University Place, 100 or 10003. This is all for a sidewalk. Whereas Manhattan CB2 recommends conditionally denying the Dining Out NYC Sidewalk Cafe for Renana LLC DBA Jack's wife Frida at 72 University Place, 1003. And upon receipt of the updated site plan with the recommended modifications, which the applicant/licensee is in the process of amending, including receipt of the signed modifications form, the conditional denial will turn into an approval with modifications. Next is Andreas WV LLC DBA Da Andrea at 35 West 13th Street, 111. Whereas Manhattan CB2 recommends denial of the Dining Out NYC Sidewalk Cafe for Andreas WV LLC DBA Da Andrea at 35 West 13th Street, 111. Number 3, Numinosity LLC DBA Jack's wife Frida at 226 Lafayette Street, different location, zip code 112. Whereas Manhattan CB2 recommends conditionally denying the Dining Out NYC Sidewalk Cafe for Numinosity LLC DBA Jack's wife Frida at 226 Lafayette Street, 112. And upon receipt of the updated site plan with the recommended modifications, which the applicant/licensee is in the process of amending, including receipt of the signed modifications form, the conditional denial will turn into an approval with modifications. Number 4, Juicery Nolita LLC, DBA The Butcher's Daughter at 19 Kenmare Street. This is their east storefront, zip code 112, sidewalk. And then Juicery Nolita LLC, DBA The Butcher's Daughter at 19 Kenmare Street, their western storefront, also zip code 112. Whereas Manhattan CB2 recommends conditionally denying the Dining Out NYC Sidewalk Cafe for Juicery Nolita LLC, DBA The Butcher's Daughter at 19 Kenmare Street, their east storefront, and upon receipt of the updated site plan with the recommended modifications, which the applicant/licensee is in the process of amending, including receipt of the signed modifications form, the conditional denial will turn into an approval with modifications. And that is for that's for the east storefront. Now moving to the western storefront. Juicery Nolita LLC, DBA The Butcher's Daughter, 19 Kenmare, west storefront, zip code 112. Whereas Manhattan CB2 recommends conditionally denying the Dining Out NYC Sidewalk Cafe for Juicery Nolita LLC, DBA The Butcher's Daughter at 19 Kenmare Street, west storefront, zip code 112. And upon receipt of the updated site plan with the recommended modifications, which the applicant/licensee is in the process of amending, including receipt of the signed modifications form, the conditional denial will turn into an approval with modifications. Okay, number 6 is Canterier NY LLC, DBA Canterier Mbirierea. Sorry for my pronunciation. 41 Kenmare Street, zip code 112. Whereas Manhattan CB2 recommends conditionally denying the Dining Out NYC Sidewalk Cafe for Canterier NY LLC, DBA Canterier Hamburgeria at 41 Kenmare Street, zip code 112. And upon receipt of the updated site plan with the recommended modifications, which the applicant/licensee is in the process of amending, will including receipt of the signed modifications form, the conditional denial will turn into an approval with modifications. Okay, number 7 is Officina 1397 LLC, DBA Bar Pistolino at 92 7th Avenue South, zip code 114. Whereas Manhattan CB2 recommends conditionally denying the Dining Out NYC Sidewalk Cafe for Officina 1397 LLC, DBA Bar Pistolino at 92 7th Avenue South, 114, and upon receipt of the updated site plan with the recommended modifications, which the applicant/licensee is in the process of amending, including the receipt of the signed modifications form, the conditional denial will turn into an approval with modifications. Okay, number 8 is Wago Wongowitz LLC, DBA Cafe Clooney at 284 West 12th Street, zip code 114. Whereas, or therefore be it resolved, I guess I should be saying, I'm sorry. Manhattan CB2 recommends conditionally denying the Dining Out NYC Sidewalk Cafe for Wago Wongowitz LLC, DBA Cafe Clooney at 284 West 12th Street, 10014. And upon receipt of the updated site plan with the recommended modifications, which the applicant/licensee is in the process of amending, including receipt of the signed modifications form, the conditional denial will turn into an approval with modifications. Okay, number 9, Olio Restaurants LLC, DBA Olio A Pew at 3 Greenwich Avenue, zip code 114. Whereas Manhattan CB2 recommends denial of the Dining Out NYC Sidewalk Cafe for Olio Restaurants LLC, DBA Olio A Pew at 3 Greenwich Avenue, 10014. Number 10, J's Nickels and Dimes Inc., DBA Westville Hudson at 333 Hudson Street, 10013. Whereas Manhattan CB2 recommends conditionally denying the Dining Out NYC Cafe, a sidewalk cafe for J's Nickels and Dimes Inc., DBA Westville Hudson, 333 Hudson Street, 10013. And upon receipt of the updated site plan with the recommended modifications, which the applicant/licensee is in the process of amending, including receipt of the signed modifications form, the conditional denial will turn into an approval with modifications. Okay, number 11 is Hamburger America 1 LLC, DBA Hamburger America at 51 McDougal Street, 10012. Whereas Manhattan CB2 recommends conditionally denying the Dining Out NYC Sidewalk Cafe for J's Nickels and Dimes Inc., DBA Westville Hudson, 333 Hudson Street, 10013. And upon receipt of the updated site plan with the recommended modifications, which the applicant/licensee is in the process of amending, including receipt of the signed modifications form, the conditional denial will turn into an approval with modifications. Okay, this is the last of the sidewalk cafes. Number 12, Uncle Boone's LLC, DBA Thai Diner. Can you hear me? Sorry, I think there's feedback. Okay.
Yeah.
At 186 Mott Street, 10012. Whereas Manhattan CB2 recommends conditionally denying the Dining Out NYC Sidewalk Cafe for Uncle Boone's LLC, DBA Thai Diner.
Second, Stella, we're getting feedback here. Oh, okay, go.
Okay. And upon receipt of the updated site plan with the recommended modifications, which the applicant/licensee is in the process of amending, including receipt of the signed modifications form, the conditional denial will turn into an approval with modifications. And that is all of the sidewalk cafes. 13 through 18 are roadway cafe comments.
Let's just pause and let's ask anyone because these are, let's do all the sidewalk cafes together. And I see we have some questions. I will start with Keen and then we'll go across to Zach and then to Ed.
There is one more sidewalk cafe.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I misspoke. There's one more that was added at the end. We reopened an application we had heard at our November 26th meeting after learning that the applicant had begun constructing a platform on the sidewalk, which is against the Dining Out NYC rules. So because of this new information, therefore be it resolved, Manhattan CB2 recommends denial of the Dining Out NYC Sidewalk Cafe. I'm sorry, I didn't mention which one this was. This is 330 WB Operations LLC, DBA Pasta Bar at 330 West Broadway, 10013. And we recommend denial of the Dining Out NYC Sidewalk Cafe for 330 WB Operations LLC DBA A Pasta Bar at 330 West Broadway 10013. And that is officially all of the sidewalk cafes. Sorry about that.
Okay, now let's go with questions. Let's start with
Okay.
Keen.
Okay, is it on? Yes.
Yes, it is.
I hear the pattern, which is they have to modify the sites in some way. What in general, can you just tell me generally what kind of modifications you make, but then you say then they'll be approved? Is there, what's the concern and how does it work?
Stella, do you want to address that?
Sure. So all of our evaluations are very objective, just based on the, sorry, there's other noise, sorry. All of our evaluations are very objective, just based on the DOT Dining Out NYC rules, which are about measurements primarily and clearances. And so when we measure and do our evaluations, all of the modifications are about
Stella, you're breaking up a little bit, so while it
Oh.
adjusts, I'll continue answering that real quickly and hop in here. So the proposed modifications are actually listed. I think it's a letter, so all of the modifications we're asking for are underneath each application. So it'll say, and they're specific to the site.
Zach, I'm sorry, he has the microphone, that's why.
Sorry, just curious, why did we skip 4 through 9 on that first? Sorry, say there's like something about.
Of course, I will answer that. So we skipped 4 through 9, as I mentioned, roadway cafes. I didn't mention the 30 days, but the comment, if you read below each one, it says comments submitted by the deadline. So DOT gives us only 30 days for roadway. So that doesn't always fall with our calendar cycle. Does
So
that answer your question?
For those 4 through 9, what does that mean? That we didn't opine on them and that they were approved or not approved by DOT?
So there really is no approval on, I put sometimes the approve with modifications in there so that people want a general idea of what we're saying in there, but we actually don't tell DOT approval on roadway. They don't ask for that from us. It's not what's written in the rules. On sidewalk cafes, there are 3 opinions that we get that are options to give, which is a approval with modifications, or denial. So there are no denials on roadway cafes. So there was a resolution passed a few months ago that enabled the working group to submit the comments on behalf of the board's position for roadway for any of the applications should they fall out of the cycle. But as you can see, we've been meeting twice a month for about 5 to 6 hours at a time. So that's a great meeting to join and pop in if there's an application you really want to speak about.
Okay, just one question in one of them, though, tell me if it's not worth it going to the details, but for the one for Cafe Cluny, it says that it will not have coverings or vertical screenings on the roadway cafe that are greater than 46 inches, which is not 4 feet. Is that meant to say like the awning cannot be more than 4 feet tall?
Stella, do you want to speak to this one?
Sure. 46 inches is the correct measurement. It's not 48. And that's part of the Dining Out NYC rules. If there is a regulatory sign or warning sign within 50 feet of the roadway cafe, then they are not allowed to have any furnishing objects, not awnings, but umbrellas or vertical screenings that are above 46 inches.
It's in the rules. I can direct you to the exact page. So we're just putting it in there because sometimes they'll have it on the plan. We just, yeah.
Yeah, I think, thank you, and then I'll pass it over just on this last comment. I think this and seeing more of these regulations in practice is making it more clear to me. This is not a request to change anything, but making it more clear to me how difficult it is for restaurants to actually meet these requirements. And another one who was on here, which was Andrea. I lived down that block, and like they were such a anchor during COVID and were able to have so much business and keep the neighborhood alive with their outdoor seating, which is obviously now gone. It's not an ADA accessible restaurant. There are stairs, and yet we're, because of the rules of this, and again, not anything about the committee, it's just a regulatory point. because of the rules, they're not allowed to have any sort of outdoor dining now because there isn't room on the ADA. So I implored the committee that hopefully in the future we can work more closely with our legislative representatives to try and adjust these to help improve the business opportunities for our small businesses in the district.
Thank you.
Noted.
I have a question on the denial. It seems like
Which one?
I think there was only 9, like the one straight denial. Was it 9, Olio?
Maybe.
Olio Pew? It seems like the denial was because they're a bad historic actor, but their current site plan is maybe correct. Can you just explain a little bit more at the reason?
I'm happy to. So the sidewalk there, I think, is 24 feet, and the clear path required is either, it's in there. I don't have these all memorized. I apologize. And so the clear path that they had outlined, it's actually 50% or greater, which is required, whichever one's larger. And I think it's in there. I just don't
It's
have it.
20, the sidewalk is 24 feet.
Yeah, and is it a neighborhood corridor or is it a regional corridor? Will you remind me, Stella?
I think that one is a neighborhood corridor.
Yeah, so a neighborhood corridor requires 8 feet clearance for the clear path, but in the rules, it states 50, if it's 50% or greater of the sidewalk, it's 50% of the sidewalk width or the clearance for the category from the NYC DOT pedestrian mobility plan. And so 50% greater of 24, as you know, is 12. So what they proposed is not.
What makes this a straight denial versus coming back? Because it says they're going to come back to the committee with.
No, it does not.
Will appear before CB2 prior to submitting any changes to any modifications agreed on here.
So we recognize that we are an advisory board, and so our comments are for DOT to take into consideration. So that's just typical boilerplate that's on there.
Okay.
Hi, I wanted to just express appreciation for the workload that you guys have taken on, and also for you two are a committee, a trailblazing committee, and you're establishing standards. Like, I wanted to just say that there's a shorthand that we've been using for SLA, which is very convenient. It might spare your voices a little bit and be a little bit faster. You could just say deny unless, or with conditions, modifications. I would love to request that the next time, in the future, you don't have to read the entire therefore.
Don't worry,
Thank
we
you
were
very
just
much.
realizing that ourselves, so thank you for that.
Yes, okay, Lois, and then we'll go to Janet after.
Just as a point of information, it'd be really helpful if you give the cross streets, you give the address and also the cross streets, and it's really easier for me or other people to pinpoint exactly where that place is without going to visit it or looking it up.
Thank you. Janet.
Just a quick question. I know that the roadbed dining is seasonal, but historically sidewalk cafes have not been seasonal. So are these sidewalk cafes not seasonal?
So sidewalk cafes are available to operate year round. Yes.
Thank you.
Ivy, go ahead.
Oh, my question was, or comment was along the lines that what Susanna had said, whether, because I saw like a whole bunch of them fall into that whole sentence. And I was wondering if, one option was to just list all the restaurants that kind of fall into that same sentence.
We're happy to revisit how we shorten our delivery. Trust me, I've taken that into consideration. So I'm not going to answer it now, but we will be taking that into consideration. And we still have, I believe, 7 more for Stella to do. And so we'll do that very quickly now.
Otherwise, we should have it in a t-shirt too.
Okay, great. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks.
I also have a couple of questions. All right, so on number 7, just wanted to note that after we heard this application, we got several reports from neighbors that this operator was in the process of installing sidewalk enclosure for their cafe that was beyond the limits that we set for their perimeter or seating. So number one, enclosures are not allowed. Number two, they were exceeding their limits. And so just, I guess it's just a point of contention that even though we have a resolution before us, there are circumstances that have happened after that. So also number 11 was mislabeled and needs to address the application Hamburger America in the whereas recommends conditionally denying. So that would be a correction to that. Yes.
I'm just waiting. No, Brian's finished. Okay, do we have any, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just want to just quickly say so everyone knows kind of the standards of what's happening with the Dining Out NYC program. As of November 1st, all sidewalk cafes must be operating in compliance with the Dining Out NYC rules. So that means no platforms, no full enclosures, and everything else, having the clear path, et cetera. Also, the 311 complaint system has been updated for the new program. As of November 29th, all roadway cafe setups are to be removed.
Yes, sir. Where's the microphone? Thank you.
Just one more clarification question. The point about the uniform application from the FDNY on the street, can you just speak a little more to that point?
Sure. So in the Dining Out NYC rules and in the legislation, DOT is allowed to request from FDNY a waiver that would allow, there's a required 15-foot emergency travel lane. And so, as you know, all of our streets do not meet that. And so they will send someone out from FDNY to come look at the site, and then they will do a letter of no objection. If you look on the December 10th meeting or the November 26th meeting, I think Pop-Up Bagel there's a letter. You can actually see what the letter looks like, what they write. And they say, based on a sidewalk cafe with a width of 6 feet, or based on a sidewalk cafe of 6.5 feet. So specifically on Thompson, there are two different widths that were given. And that just seemed unfair that one would be allowed to have 6.5 feet and one would only be able to have 6 feet. So that's what we were asking for.
Thank you.
Any more discussion on any of those 12 items? Okay, if not, I will take them together. All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions or recuse? I'm sorry. Who raised their hand? Bo, are you voting against any of these?
No. I'm for it.
Okay. So there are no abstentions or recusals. So, yes. Okay, 2 and 9, Kessler. Any others? Okay, thank you. Okay, Stella, continue, please.
Sure. So 13 through 18 are all roadway cafes. So I will read them and I will try to be faster. Okay, so number 13 is Il Buco Corp., DBA Il Buco Restaurant at 47 Bond Street, 10012. Therefore be it resolved, Manhattan CB2 recommends submitting the comments approval with modifications as stated above regarding the Dining Out NYC Roadway Cafe for Il Buco Corp., DBA Il Buco Restaurant at 47 Bond Street, 10012. The next one is Fellini Soho Corp. DBA Fellini at 120 Thompson Street, 10012. And again, recommend submitting the comments as stated above. These are all unanimous as well. Number 15, 45 Mercer Restaurant, LLC, DBA Odd Sister at 45 Mercer Street, 10013. And CB2 recommends submitting the comments as stated above. 16, Fiasceteria West Limited, DBA Fiesciteria Pistoia at 114 Christopher Street, 10014. And again, recommend submitting the comments as stated above. Number 17, White Horse Hospitality LLC, DBA Horse Tavern at 567 Hudson Street, 10014. Therefore be it resolved, CB2 recommends submitting the comments approved with modifications as stated above. And the last one, 330 WV Operations LLC, DBA A Pasta Bar, 330 West Broadway, 10013. And recommends submitting the comments approved with modifications as stated above. And that's it for roadway.
Thank you, Stella. Okay, we have some discussion. Ryder?
I might just not be reading very comprehensively, but can you explain what the reason is for the denial of number 19?
So 19 is the sidewalk cafe application that we reopened from our November 26th meeting. We learned that they had begun constructing a platform on the sidewalk to fully enclose their sidewalk cafe, which is against the Dining Out NYC rules.
Got it, got it,
Because
got
of this new information. Yep.
Thanks. I failed to connect those dots.
Thank you. Any more discussion on items numbered 13 through 19? Any questions about them? Okay, if not, we'll vote on those again together. All those in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions or recusals? Okay, I see none. Thank you, Stella. Thank you, Valerie. Next is SLA.
Okay, thank you. Holidays, sort of. Okay, SLA 1, we met on December 3rd. We had, couldn't have had that. I don't know. We had 11 applications. We heard 5 of them, it looks like, or, yeah, 5 of them. So the first one, Sankofa USA LLC at 164 Mott Street. This was a new tavern wine, previously unlicensed location, deny unless with stipulations being adhered to, and all the decisions were unanimous. Casamata LLC, 45 Bleecker Street. This is an on-premise for a restaurant. So this one, you've got a detailed reso in there. They came to us, they laid it over during our meeting because there were a bunch of issues that are outlined in the resolution. And then this morning, we got an email saying that they took all those comments and there were things about using the alleyway that they wanted to use. And they were withdrawing the application, so this is a withdrawal. And that wouldn't have had a vote anyway, so we still don't have a vote. Okay. Jeju Noodle Bar Nolita LLC at 204 Elizabeth Street. It's a new restaurant wine, previously unlicensed location, that deny unless with stipulations being adhered to. Rich 99, doing business as Go Dunk at 332 Bowery, new on-premise for a restaurant. This is deny unless with stipulations being adhered to. 343 Broom, Tomorrow LLC, 146 Bowery, on-premise for a restaurant. It's transfer. This was a denial. And then Dante Elizabeth is just on here because I wanted people to be able to track this in case anybody searches by the real name. They came to us, I forget what month it was, I think it's in the resolution. And we recommended approval. We have stipulations. It was just an entity to be, by L Pride. And so now they have the real entity name, which is Dante Elizabeth LLC. So I just wanted that in there. They re-signed the stipulations under the correct name. So if anybody searches, everything should be able to be found when you search by the name as well as the address. That's it. Oh, wait, no, it's not it. And then 7 through 11 are layovers or withdrawals. That's it.
Okay. Okay, so number 2 is withdrawn. Is that?
It's still, no, we vote on it as a withdrawal. I
Okay.
mean, we usually.
No,
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
saying
yeah,
that that
yeah,
it's now.
It's a withdrawal instead of a layover.
Okay.
So yes.
So we have in total, it's a withdrawal. So there's 1, 3, 4,
There's
and 5
5,
are
and then-
actual resolutions, and all the remainder are layovers,
Correct.
no shows, whatever.
Correct.
Any discussion? Anyone want to call any of those items out? Any discussion? None. Okay, then all those in favor? Any abstention? All against? Any abstentions or recusals? Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. SLA 2 met on December 5th. We had 14 applications, 9 resolutions. Everything was unanimous. Talea Beer at 102 Christopher Street. It's a tavern wine, and they had roadbed seating in there. It's previously unlicensed. This was a reconsideration. They had come to us before. So it's deny unless with stipulations being adhered to. Airmail, 546 Hudson Street, doing business as Airmail at 546 Hudson Street. That's a tavern wine, previously unlicensed location. Deny unless with stipulations being adhered to. CE27 LLC, doing business as QK Crudo, 27 Bedford Street, on premise for a restaurant. This was a change in method of operation to extend the operating hours and add roadbed seating, and this was deny. Puttery Manhattan LP, doing business as Puttery at 446 West 14th, on premise restaurant. This was also a change in method of operation, and that was a deny. Number 5, well, it's 5, 6, 7, and 8 are New York Water Tours, doing business as Eclipse, doing business as the Manhattan 2, doing business as the Manhattan, and doing business as Liberty Cruise Event Cruises, New York City, also known as Freedom. They're all at 353 West Street, Pier 40. They're new on-premise for vessels, and those were all deny unless with stipulations being adhered to. And then number 9 was GVI West Village, doing business as Vinserv Inc. at 192 7th Avenue South. It's a class change to an on-premise bar tavern. And sidewalk seating, deny unless with stipulations being adhered to. And then items 10 through 14 were layovers, and just of note on my resolutions, item 13 and 14 are corporate changes. So.
Okay, and any discussion, on any of those items? Yes, Ryder, you have your hand up?
Yeah, for number 3, the denial, it's, I just would love a little more color, because it sounds like they were asking for 2 things, the roadbed seating and the extended hours.
Right.
And their concerns, were the concerns presented by the public and also felt by the committee to both of those things?
Yes.
Because,
Strongly to both of those things. They weren't offering to split up one or the other anyway. But when they came, they, you know the block, there's residents all around, there are ground floor residents near there. And the community really negotiated those hours with them. In fact, the community wanted earlier hours they wanted them to close at 11. When they came, they said 12 o'clock closing was fine. They thought everything was very reasonable with that. So the community did not want
Right.
later hours. So that was clear. And they also didn't want the roadbed, but it wasn't denied it was the main, I think speaking for the committee, I think the hours were just, they were going back on everything that made
had
us give
previously
them the
negotiated.
on-premise license that has, a public interest thing to it, and there was never an on-premise license there before. So it's kind of like you're undoing everything, which was the whole reason the license was awarded. in the first
it makes sense. My one point of information question is, did they ever have any outdoor seating as part of the temporary program?
Yeah, they had roadbed out there.
They had, so I guess like my interpretation of this is that they could survive on the earlier hours with the roadbed that they had. But now they don't have.
When they came, the roadbed was not the consideration. When they came to us, the roadbed was not part of that. They knew the number of seats. They know the building very well. They're experienced restaurant people.
Yeah.
They agreed to all that. So if they needed that roadbed in there, they should not have agreed to not have outdoor seating when they came to us for the initial application, which is what they agreed to, and that was also part of their public interest when they came.
Understood. Thank you so much.
Okay, I'm sorry, was there anybody else had their hand up for this? Okay, seeing no more, we have resos 1 through 9, and then 10 through 14 being the layovers, no shows. Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions or recusals? Thank you, Donna. Okay, and land use, last but not least.
Here, take.
Oh.
Date on the minutes from last month, and I just wanted to flag it that for our 438 board members present, and actually there were 37 at the time, and the same issue today. We're missing a board member whenever there's a vote on cannabis. So can we just fix that? Since they weren't present to vote.
I'm sorry, you're saying somebody walked out of the room and the number.
Somebody leave. Can we have a microphone, please? So the last two meetings, the number of people counted as voting on the cannabis resolutions is incorrect. It's one more than was actually present. So just for clarity, let's just,
It's just, it is an it's the
it's
number.
inaccurate.
Okay,
And so for this one, we also, these votes today, we need to -1 because there was a board member not in the room during the cannabis vote.
okay. Normally when we take, okay, if we vote unanimously, the unanimous number doesn't change if people come and go unless you ask for another vote to reestablish who is present.
It wasn't unanimous because Matt always has to recuse. But can I ask for that at this time? Another vote,
You want another roll call vote to reestablish the number present.
the number present for cannabis.
Okay, then what we will do is, well, the next, actually, cannabis is actually taken, we've already had the vote on that, though. Yes, Carter? I'm not sure.
Just as a point of order, you would have to do a new roll call vote to establish. all the-
Yes, that's what I'm saying, is that you would have to have another, unfortunately, though, we can't change the vote on something because we had a number that was established at the time.
It's fine. Is there any way to record that this issue has been raised in our minutes?
It's an item in the minutes where I will make a note of it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Okay, yes, Lois.
If you go to the toilet or someplace outside and there is a vote, then you are minus.
We
for
do
that
not,
vote.
no,
I
once
never-
once you've established the number that is here, that's the number, then we deduct from that those that are in the minority. If we do not, it's called empty seat voting. You
Yes.
don't simply change it. Otherwise, every time somebody leaves, we would have to we'd have to have another roll call vote to establish it.
And it can be maneuvered to put down a resolution when several people walk out. It's been done before.
Okay, well, then
We all
somebody,
know that.
okay, well, okay.
History has said that.
okay. Okay. We're now back to, land use.
Okay, thank you. So last report of the night, land use. Land use had 2 meetings in December. First was a public meeting on December the 11th, where the New York City EDC, the Economic Development Corporation, presented plans to redevelop Gansevoort Square. As part of those plans, the Whitney would essentially double their space. The Friends of the High Line would add 2 stories to the maintenance and operation building and slightly expand their footprint. Some open space will be transferred from the city to the Whitney and managed by the Whitney. And a residential building would be constructed on 10,000 square foot footprint that's part of the lot, so to the north of where the Whitney is currently. That was a well-attended meeting. We had over 200 people in person and over Zoom. And we had a lot of very good questions. I think there were some, we heard some of the public testimony tonight as well in public session regarding this. We had a second meeting to have a business session where land use could discuss what was shown to us at the December 11th meeting. And at that meeting, we decided to pass a resolution on the Gansevoort Meat Market site public process. So in this resolution, I will go through the therefore be it resolves. First, therefore be it resolved. We request that New York City EDC expand the public review process and timeline so that it is robust, transparent, and reflective of community input and responds to the long timeline for the ULURP. 2, we reject the proposal of only 50% affordability on public land and continue to advocate for 100% affordable housing. 3, we call for EDC to slow down the RFP process. Specifically, the RFP should not be issued until after A, the community board has issued a full resolution on Gansevoort Square, and B, the community board has had an opportunity to review and comment on a draft RFP. 4, we request a report from New York City EDC on its findings from the planned public engagement sessions, one of which was tonight, December 19th. The other 2 are proposed for January 7th and January 8th, 2025. 5th, we request that EDC share with CB2 all sources of city and state funding for the affordable housing that have been considered before arriving at the cross-subsidy model, meaning that the city will not be asking for public subsidy. They're going to purely depend on the market rate housing to cross-subsidize the affordable housing in the housing development. Number 6, we request the redevelopment plans on public land maximize the overall public benefit, including the development of affordable housing, owing to its relative scarcity in CB2. 7, we request that the mayor's office, the City Housing Activation Task Force, New York City EDC, and any other agencies involved immediately and regularly share with CB2 a list of all sites being considered under Executive Order 43. 8, we request that EDC make all agreements between the Whitney, the Friends of the High Line, and other involved parties available for public review, including all right of first offer documentation. And 9, we insist that the proposed site plan be considered open for further analysis and review in a public process. What we found from the presentations was that the public was very disappointed with the plans. They were being very rushed. And so as part of the land use resolution, we are asking that this process be slowed down. We compared this to what's going on at 388 Hudson, which is also happening in CB2. The process there is much more ordered. There are more specific steps that are being skipped for the process at Gansevoort Square. And so we're asking for we're asking for the community to be able to absorb what's been told to us and for CB2 to be able to listen back to what the community is saying to us. Any questions?
Okay, let's start with Carter then. We need a mic. Where's the microphone? It's down here.
I'd like to propose an amendment to add a new number 3 whereas clause, which if you expand the chat, you can all read along. Whereas in December 2008, Community Board 2 noted as part of our support of the original Whitney development that, quote, whereas almost any new use on the rest of the block would come before the Community Board for public review, end quote, and that is proven not to be the case at this time. Specifically, neither the Whitney nor the Friends of the High Line have presented their plans for the site or discussed exercising the right of first offer for the site or integrating the proposed housing development on the site. And
Okay, do I have a second on that? Okay, now we can discuss that amendment. Any discussions on, yes, Cormac? But we can't, they can't hear you online, I'm sorry. Is there a second mic that we can allow them to share?
I just want to say that it seems like a reasonable amendment. It's simply giving information that is factual, it's well thought out and drafted. I say that we adopt it and move on to the vote. What you would need to do is close the participant panel. Click that.
If anyone didn't hear me, I requested that the webinar chat portion of the sidebar be expanded so those of us in the room could see the whole text.
That's perfect.
Oh, good. Is there any? I see. This is a whereas edition, correct? Yes. I'm sorry. Thank you. Frederica, go ahead.
Yeah, I feel that this is exactly what they have just done. They have just come to us and they have presented their plans for the site. They showed us a site plan. They talked to us about the right of first offer. I mean, I want to be in favor of strengthening our reso, but I feel that this weakens it because this is precisely what they're going through with their meeting with us and their meetings with the public. They've kind of bulletproofed themselves against a comment like this.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Susan Wittenberg. There's microphones over here.
Hey, I was on.
Yes.
That is true, except in relation to everything else we've said, it is an equivalent to our process at 388 Hudson. So it feels like an insincere gesture, which might have happened because of this, but it's an unusual process for us. We've never had an experience like this. If we look back at NYU, Sohono Horizoni, 388 Hudson, where the community engagement was extensive, whether or not we agreed with the outcome. And we've never seen anything like this, where something so large and so important an opportunity for us has come in with so little time to respond. And we certainly don't want this to be supported as a way things would be done going forward. And it sets a very bad precedent. So I think that's the point of this.
Thank you. Any more comments on this? Any more discussion on this? Otherwise, we will vote on the amendment. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we have a couple of, we have Liff, we have Listman, we have I'm sorry. This is on the amendment only. Okay. So you had Siegel, you had Kessler, you had Listman, you had Liff. And those were the four opposed. And were there any abstentions on this? Okay. Okay, so the amendment now passes. It is added to the resolution. Any further, who wants, okay. Zach, you have your hand up? Okay.
The square footage that's listed in here, is this all ground square footage? So am I reading this correctly, that the Whitney would take over 38,000 square feet of what is currently empty space?
This is on the lot, right? So this is on the physical lot. So the zone square footage would be a multiple of this. So for example, the housing would be approximately 60 times the 10,000 because they're proposing a 60-story tower. The Whitney, I think they're proposing 8 stories. So it's roughly 8 times that minus, stairs and elevators.
And so same, just to read that out, same for the additional Highline headquarters, it's 11,000 like new square feet beyond the building, because it just mentions like a 2-story addition, but that would be a much larger footprint. So how should I be reading that?
The open, are you talking about the open space?
Yeah.
So the open space, that's just open space. There's not any multiple, but that's just what's on the lot. Yeah, on the ground. There's additional 6,322 square feet of a slight sliver. If you look on the site plan, I don't have it handy, but there's a slight sliver that they're going to add to the maintenance and operations building. And that is 6,322 square feet, but they're also adding 2 stories to the building. So it's actually, they're adding many more zone square feet, but in terms of what's actually in the lot, 6,322 square feet.
Could I just add something? When you said ground, don't know if you were familiar with the fact that there's a building there.
Oh.
It's not open space. There's a 2 or 1.5 or 2-story brick market building. It does have a keyhole in the middle where the trucks can come in. And so that structure has to come down, and the space under that structure is being reapportioned. So it's not like an empty lot today.
And sorry, just one additional question on that. Do we have a sense of how, like, on a percentage basis, how much that is increasing the size of the Whitney? Like, is that doubling the size
It's
of the Whitney?
approximately 100%. It's approximately doubling the size of the Whitney. Just the building, right? I'm not talking the, right. So here we're talking the building.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Janet had her hand up, and then we'll go to Dr. Smith.
So-
Oh, I'm sorry, and then we'll go back to you, Eddie.
So how big is the entire site, the ground plane?
The entire lot, yeah, thank you, Janine.
This is just the site plan, so basically the footprint of all the buildings. So I just added all the numbers up and it's 65,993 square feet. The Whitney has 58%, but the open space will also be Whitney. So if you add the open space and the Whitney building part, they actually have 75% of the lot. Highline has 10% and housing has 15%, to put that in perspective.
Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Smith, and then we'll go to Ed Siegel. We've got him, Mike.
Just for me to kind of understand it. Keeping in mind what I heard some of the neighbors say.
Sure.
The building, where the apartments that they are going to have, how many apartments will be in that building that are market, and how many are affordable?
So the city has said 600 total, so 300, at least 300 market, and at most 300 affordable. But it could be anywhere from, it's really a minimum of 150 affordable. So it could be anywhere from 150, 450 to 300, 300.
How will that be determined? Do you know?
That's supposed to be part of the RFP process. So when the developers propose and they do their math to see how much affordable housing they can subsidize with, yep.
Okay.
That's gonna determine.
Okay, Ed, please.
Hey, thank you. I went to the presentation meeting for this, and it was a very unique housing presentation, I think, from stuff I've seen before. It seemed whoever negotiated this deal in 2009, in hindsight, did a pretty crappy job. I also think that EDC probably bungled the community feedback for this, scheduling a bunch of meetings in the holidays. That being said, I don't have an amendment, but I would love in the future to see more clarity what we mean when we say slow down the process. They've told us they want to do this RFP in January. I think we should request they do one more community feedback meeting in January, and then, some amount of weeks, 2, 6, whatever, to begin to have enough time to incorporate that feedback. I don't want to give an amendment. I don't think it would substantively change the tone and tenor of this. I'm just saying that this is how I feel about when we ask to slow things down.
Are you talking about the public engagement sessions that they talked about, like the one that's happening tonight?
Right, exactly, yeah.
And the one
Yes,
that's
I think
happening
it-
January 7th, the night of our SLA?
Yes, and so I think, it would be great to specifically make an ask there.
They've added one more session, so they've
Okay.
added one more January 8th at 5 p.m. Yes, I believe that's Zoom only.
Yeah, and I'm perfectly fine with all the requests for information. The point of the resolution that I disagree with is, at least what I'm reading, is a rejection of the 50% mixed-use building. And the reason why I disagree with that is because it's effectively free, affordable housing. The city would not decide to propose a non 100% affordable building unless they didn't have other options. They know the firing line. They're going to come through to the community board meetings, to the hearings, to all of the places they come up here. EDC has told us that HPD is oversubscribed for years. I take them at their word for that. I appreciate the request to add more stuff, but I think this seems like a great opportunity to add 300 new affordable homes. I get the Housing Connect wait list. There's never anything in our district. I would love to have a chance to move to an affordable unit within our district. And this actually provides a way to get hundreds of them at one shot. I think I understand the skepticism coming from the committee and the community at the indefinite nature of the 25 to 50% range. I think the appropriate time to communicate hard disagreement is when the RFPs come back and we actually see the types of proposals we are getting to get the flexibility that is just hard to put into these government RFP documents.
So as a counterpoint, this is on city-owned land. So this is on public land. We asked at the meeting, were there any other instances of developments on city-owned land that were not 100% affordable? And I believe the only example that they were able to give us was Essex Crossing.
Well,
Right.
you know, I understand. I was at that meeting too, and I heard that
Right.
response.
Right.
I don't know if there are more. That didn't seem like the answer was no, that there wasn't. It was just an off-the-cuff response. But even if not, I think these mixed-use buildings are good. And if the decision to only allow 100% affordability on public land means we are capped at the current subsidy available to us, which is going to go down in the next 4 years due to the LIHTC and the Trump presidency, we're going to be waiting a very long time to expand unless we get our city councilors or state people to pass more subsidy. This is a way to get units for free without cost to the government. They can use the affordable housing money in less wealthy communities that don't have the ability to cross-subsidize like we can, because we have amongst the highest rents in the city.
So if I could, 2 points. First, if you look at 388 Hudson, I don't know if you were at all, I know you went to a lot of the 388 Hudson meetings. There was one I specifically remember where, it's one of the very first ones where HPD came to us and they told us specifically on city-owned land, the city policy is it's always 100% affordable. HPD assured us that. And so, you know, we're looking at that also in our district, right? And then we have this proposal also in our district, and it's a different story. Here, it's also city-owned land. Why is this not 100% affordable? I would also say, second, how much time are they saving? I know that the city said that it's more expedient to do this without having to go and ask for subsidy. We're talking about a building with a lifetime of, 100 years, right? So if we're talking about waiting several more years on a building that's going to be here for the next century, I think that's a reasonable ask to get, you're asking for affordable housing. This is going to double the amount of affordable housing in the same housing unit. It's not, I don't think that they're talking about, we have to wait 2 decades versus, a year, right? We're only talking about shaving a year or two because they said the average HPD development takes 10 years. And we can also take a look and turn and see 388, right? So that's, also in our district. And, it just seems kind of ridiculous that we are going to try and save a few years and give up a century of affordable housing and several, 300 additional apartments.
If that gets approved and if the funding comes, 300 affordable homes today, while we have a massive affordability crisis versus an uncertain amount in the future, seems like the same risky gamble that I don't want to take here, especially because it's free affordable housing. It would be a net increase amongst the total we can get in the city with the dollars that go to things.
I do want to get to the other people who have got their hands. Okay, I've got Katie in the back, and then I'll have Cormac, and then, I'm sorry, did
Thanks,
you
Ed.
also have your hand up? Well, okay, but let's start. And Frederica, okay, I will,
Hey, thanks.
after the folks here, I will turn to Frederica. We need a microphone for Katie. There was 2 microphones in the, okay, hand it over, folks. I need the other microphone. I can't relinquish mine.
It's in her purse.
Well, there we
Okay,
go.
please.
A little levity at this moment. I just want to respond to Ed. We have not heard from HPD on this, that they were not in the room. I don't think they're at tonight's meeting. They might be able to clarify your question. And B, what EDC has said is that, they're going for the top, but to have the highest return. So I don't think that, I'm not convinced that the top apartments are what you're talking about in terms of affordability. They are going to be very expensive, and that's where they're going to put the market rate housing. So, I think it's going to be astronomical in terms of height and price. Who's next?
I'm sorry, yes, Cormac, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to give my perspective, which is different from somewhat what I've heard from all sides tonight. So it seems to me that the risky gamble is the entire proposal at all. Just for my part, I don't believe that we'll see 50%. Maybe we'll actually see the 25%. But even when we do, the definitions of affordable housing that they use are, in my opinion, a great euphemism for basically building upper middle class housing. I don't actually believe that this will build what I feel is affordable housing for the people who need it in New York. And, it doesn't mean it's not going to happen, but this whole conversation that goes on all the time here seems ludicrous to me.
Okay, let me call on Frederica and then I'll come back to the room. Go ahead, Frederica.
Yeah, I want to respond to Ed also. I agree with you, Ed, but this is very early days. And it's very offensive to have the site plan presented to us as negotiated and final. It's really not final. The Whitney Museum is going to double in size, but they've decided, of course, they get the land at a sweetheart price. And the way the architect described the building to us, it's going to be horizontal, not vertical. So they're really squandering a lot of FAR that could be used for residential also. So, and also it's a question mark how they're going to finance this building and raise the money. And it may turn out in the end that they find themselves looking to a developer to develop the building and possibly want to put a residential on top. So I feel it would be remiss of the community board not to start out with a request for 100% affordable, but we're not going to have ULURP up until 2026. And a lot can happen between now and then, so.
And I believe there is one ULURP for the entire
Yes,
site.
all of them will be
So
together.
if the Whitney can't move its part forward, the ULURP will then be delayed, correct?
No, I think the housing and all of that would be on different timetables, but it's a single ULURP.
Things will be built at different times, but they will be ULURPed together.
Okay, I'm sorry, Susanna?
I want to say that this discussion about the merits and the perils of the building is an interesting discussion, but it's a little early. And the way I infer this resolution is it's a resolution about process, not about the final building. We haven't seen an RFP. We haven't had a chance to look into the RFP. So I would love to be able to just vote on the resolution and pause our important conversation about the merits and perils of a new building for when it's actually on the table, which is not now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Ryder, you have your hand up.
Yeah.
He's got a microphone.
I mean, I take Susanna's point and think that, it seems like at root, the complaint from the committee and the board, presuming that we approve this, and from the community is largely about process. But it does seem that we are getting a lot of feedback about the idea of housing at all, the idea of market rate housing, the idea of tall buildings. And I think it behooves us at this moment to kind of take stock of what our position as a board is on some of these things. And, you know, especially hearing a lot of the public comment about the grotesquerie of a tall building or of market rate homes, to acknowledge the context in which we're talking about potentially adding 600 homes to our district, income restricted homes, and also market rate homes that will help assuage the shortage that is leading to the 1.4% vacancy rate, rents going up 7 times faster than wages, record homelessness, et cetera. We've talked in the past about being a pro-housing board and acknowledging that there's a housing shortage. And this is an opportunity, not necessarily to take this proposal as is, but just to reflect on the concordance between what this proposal would represent and the values we've stated. Similarly, we've talked tonight about wanting 100% affordable housing on city-owned land. I would note that Haven Green would be 100% affordable housing on city-owned land, and we've opposed it time and time again since my very first meeting as a member back in January 2019 and long before that. And I would just also say to Eddie's point about delay here doesn't necessarily mean we're going to get 600 units of affordable housing, but it does mean we are going to have years without these homes and families living in them.
Okay, Janine.
I just want to clarify that we did hear from the public about what you said about the height, but there is nothing in this resolution about the height. So I just want to make sure that that's. Yes. And I think why would we give that up on our first resolution when this is going to be a multi-year process?
Okay, we've got more, okay. Mar and then Carter. And then I will get back to they haven't spoken.
I am not confident that we are going to get A, truly affordable housing, B, any affordable housing, and if we do get any affordable housing, which will not be actually affordable for the people of this city, it will be maybe affordable for the people already in the West Village, it will consist of corridors, substandard housing, smaller apartments. It will not be equal. It will not be fair. It will not diversify our community. It will not make us better. This is all smoke and mirrors, bait and switch. It's the same situation as 388 in Dapolito, and we must do everything we can to make sure that it delivers 100% affordable housing to our neighborhood so that it will change the face of our neighborhoods and make it better.
Thank you, Mar. I said Carter was next, and then I will go to Zach. I'm sorry. And then you also had your hand up, Doctor. Okay, then, and after. Go ahead.
Thanks. I think
Carter.
one of the things, you know, what Janine had put out with the percentages is something to consider. This is developing 15% of city-owned parcel, and it really begs a rediscussion.
Could
for
Carter
that,
speak louder,
both
please?
the cultural institutions and for the city at large. And I think that that's a discussion that has been engineered away from public discussion and been hidden. And that's really the discussion here, because I think that while people may have differing views, on its face, it just doesn't seem like this is a very good deal for anybody. And I think that that's the issue, and delaying this conversation for a month or two is not necessarily delaying this for years. It's actually getting it back on a better footing and better track to develop what we need in the city. And that answer to that might be different for everybody, but what's presented here, I don't think is really great for anyone. And in fact, it seems like the divisions of the percentages of land all have to do with each independent group acting on their own, so that each portion of the parcel can be developed on separate timelines. And I'm not so sure that meets the best interests, you know, for the larger good.
Okay, thank you. And say, Zach, you had your hand up next. Oh, I'm so, okay. Dr. Smith has a microphone in her hand. But you need to use the
I'm a little
microphone if you've
concerned.
got it.
Can you hear me?
Now I can.
Okay. Eugene, when you said that it seems like the housing people are saying one thing about 100% and this is not. My question then would be, Where are our legislators in all of this? Well, is there some, are we thinking in terms of trying to get support in that area? Or that might be,
Yeah, I mean, we've been speaking with, Eric Watchers. I mean, Eric Watchers showed up at the meeting as well. I know that, Deborah Glick has been very active as well in these talks, and I think, we've had other politicians, other elected officials that were involved in this. Brad Hoylman. No, wait, no. Hoylman? No, not that. Yeah, yeah. But we're being very rushed, right? So we were just told about this, a week ago, a little over a week ago. So as far as, having conversations with our electeds, we haven't had a lot of time.
they are supposed to be representing us.
Yes.
You're making a motion to call the question. Then you have to have a second, and then we have to have a vote on the question. We have a second. Okay, we have a motion on the floor to call the question, but it requires a 2/3 vote in favor in order to call the question. So all those in favor? Opposed? I have 2 hands up, 3 hands up, and 4 hands up. That's, okay, so yes, the question is called. So now we are going to vote on this resolution as amended. I'm sorry? No,
Point of order. Could I ask on the amendment, were there 3 or 4 opposed?
opposed? I believe there were 4 opposed. There were 4 opposed to the
I
amendment.
only have 3 written down.
There were 5? And who were those people? Janet Liff, Ben Listman, Ryder Kessler, Ed Siegel, and Frederica Siegel were the. No, he did not.
Microphone.
Actually, that is a bylaws, actually a requirement. But you have spoken. But you have spoken. That's what he was pointing out, is that our bylaws would take precedence in the event that somebody who had not spoken wants to speak. But we have now voted on calling the question. So we are now going to take a vote on the resolution as amended. And this is our last item so it has to be a roll call vote.
I just want to be sure we didn't conflate the last vote on calling the question with the previous one, where that was no on the amendment. So folks who voted no on the amendment, please raise your hands quickly. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Frederica, did you also vote no on the amendment? Somebody? Yes, okay. We got a good nod. We're set then. Thank you all for your patience.
Yeah, hold on.
Actually, here we go.
Yeah.
I'll do the yay. Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay. Susanna Aaron? Yes.
As amended,
Yep.
correct.
Land
As
use
amended.
resolution as amendment, as amended. Susanna Aaron was yes. Keenberger? Yes. Carter Booth? Yes. Katie Bordenaro? Yes. Amy Brenna? Yes. Rich Kakapolo? Yes. Ritu Chatri, absent, excuse me. Valerie De La Rosa?
Yes.
Yes. Chris Dignas? No. Mar Fitzgerald? Yes. Stella Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Yes. Cormac Flynn? Yes. Susan Gammy? Yes. Juliet Kay? Yes. Zachary Kazaz? Abstain. Ryder Kessler, or excuse me, Susan Kent?
Yes.
Yes. Ryder Kessler? No. Janine Kiley? Yes. Ivy Quanars? Ivy, are you online? Okay, I'll leave it blank for now. Patricia Laria? Yes. Janet Liff? Abstain. Benjamin Listman? Abstain. Ed Ma?
Yes.
Yes. Matthew Metzger? Yes. Erica Olson? No. Brian Pape? Yes. Donna Raftery? Yes. Louis Rockoff? Yes. Bo Riccobono?
Yes.
Yes. Orsia Sands? Yes. Shirley Secunda?
Yes.
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 Yeah,
that's
she's, yeah. Eddie Siegel? No. Frederica Siegel?
Yes, but I just want to clarify something that Mar said that I don't believe was correct.
No, no, I'm sorry. We're taking a vote. The
Okay,
debate
okay,
is
no
is
problem.
closed.
No problem. I'll put it in the chat.
Please, the debate is closed. We are taking a vote. That is a procedural order. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Frederica, yes. Emma Smith, abstain. Dr. Shirley Smith? Yes. Chenault Spence?
Yes.
Yes. Susan Wittenberg? Yes. Anthony Wong? Yes. Eugene Yu?
Yes.
Yes. Thanks, folks.
Okay, the resolution passes. Is there any new business? If not, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Thank you. Happy holidays, everyone. Thank you so much.